Hello everybody, welcome back to Forever Conscious Research Channel. Hope you're all doing well tonight. Nice to see you all. Sorry I couldn't really mix it up in the chat there. I had a bunch of issues going on, of course, before the stream, as always, and I just can never seem to start on time. So if I tell you I'm starting at some time, just assume it's like an extra 5 or 10 minutes at this point. It's always something, yes. Hashtag last timers. That's right. Okay, so we left off at case 17 is the next one. This segment goes for, I believe, about a little under 32 minutes, and then we will pick it up and go on from there. There's some longer segments in these ones that kind of mix in various opinions of Michael Newton, some of which we'll be reading in between the lines of course. And so let me just do a quick audio check, because I did have to switch players, audio players. I don't know why, but it wouldn't work in Winamp, which I use all the time. So I want to make sure I'm not blowing out your ears when I start this thing. So just in case, you might want to lower your volume just before I check this. Okay, there we go.
Guides. Are they given quite a few souls to work with? Subject. Only the more practiced ones. Dr. N. I would imagine a large group of souls needing guides could become quite a responsibility for one advanced guide, even with an assistant. Subject. They can handle it. Size doesn't matter.
Alright, looks like we're good to go. Hope I didn't blow your ears away too much. It did look like it was a little high. So, I'm just going to rewind this, and we will be on our way. So this marker was... Alright. 30. Sorry, guys. $31.28. Okay. Alright, so here we go. Going to be about 4 seconds of the previous case, and then we're going to go right into case 17. So at 10 minutes 58 seconds, we are going.
It's about teacher assignments in the spirit world, in relation to their abilities to help undeveloped souls. When souls progress as guides, are they given quite a few souls to work with? Subject. Only the more practiced ones. Dr. N. I would imagine a large group of souls needing guides could become quite a responsibility for one advanced guide, even with an assistant. Subject. They can handle it. Size.
Alright, yeah, we only missed 5 seconds, which was the introduction to the case, so it really wasn't much. I shaved off, I think, 5 or 6 seconds. I thought I added it. Sorry. So here we go. Let's continue.
This doesn't matter. Dr. N. Why not? Subject. Once you attain competency and success as a teacher, the number of souls you are given doesn't matter. Some sections, clusters, have lots of souls, and others don't. Dr. N. So if you are a senior in the blue light aura, class size has no relation to assignments because you have the ability to handle large numbers of souls? Subject. I didn't exactly say that. Much depends upon the types of souls in a section and the experience of the leaders. In the larger sections they have help too, you know. Dr. N. Who does? Subject. The guides you are calling seniors. Dr. N. Well, who helps them? Subject. The overseers. Now they are the real pros.
Oh.
Dr. N. I have heard them also called master teachers. Subject. That's not a bad description for them. Dr. N. What energy color do they project to you? Subject. It's purplish.
Very interesting that it's purple, isn't it? Purple's very prevalent down here for, and it just so happens to be the color of the night apparently for the chat window. Anyways, I think it rotates automatically every night, so don't look too deep into it. Anyways, so yeah, I think it's interesting that you have royalty representing purple, big musicians, even government, things like that. Purple stands out quite a bit in our society as a power color, as does it up there.
Note: the lower ranges of a 5 level radiate a sky blue energy. With advancing maturity, this aura grows more dense, first to a muted midnight blue, and finally to deep purple, representing the total integration of a level 6 ascended master. Dr. N, since guides seem to have different approaches to teaching, what do they all have in common? Subject: they wouldn't be teachers if they didn't have a love of training and a desire to help us join them. Dr. N, then define for me why souls are selected as guides. Take a typical guide and tell me what qualities that advanced soul possesses.
Oh, let's hear about it.
Subject: they must be compassionate without being too easy on you. They aren't judgmental. You don't have to do things their way. They don't restrain by imposing their values on you. Dr. N,
I sense a lot of bullshit. I don't know about you, but well, you know what? Okay, obviously this is all theoretical. We have no we have no way of proving it, but it would make sense that yes, they're mostly not going to break your balls, and they're going to be compassionate because they're at the top of the food chain, so to say. Some of the ones at the top of the food chain, and then you have the guide regular teachers below that master or whatever, or controller, whatever you want to call it. So it would make sense that it's a special moment when you get to go see these things and have that perception. Just throwing it out there. And then the dirty work seems to be done within your soul group, and then it also is probably done by your regular teacher that comes in and out of your classroom, so to say, every once in a while. That gives you more of a push. So there seems like there's a separation there. Just throwing it out there. I don't know.
Okay, those are things guides don't do. If they don't over-direct souls, what are the important things they do, as you see it? Subject: they build morale in their sections and instill confidence. We all know they have been through a lot themselves. We are accepted for who we are as individuals, with the right to make our own mistakes. Dr. N, I must say I have found souls very loyal to their guides. Subject: that's why, because they never give up on you. Dr. N, what would you say is the most important attribute of any guide? Subject: without hesitation, the ability to motivate you and instill courage. My next case provides an example of the actions of a still incarnating guide. This guide is called Owa, and he represents the qualities of a devoted teacher reported by the last case. Evidently, his early assignments as a guide involved looking after the subject in case 18 in a direct fashion, and his methods apparently have not changed. My client was stunned once she recognized her guide's latest incarnation. Owa made his first appearance as a guide in my client's past, about 50 BC. He was described as an old man living in a Judean village, which had been overrun by Roman soldiers.
For anyone out there familiar, excuse me, with Crowley, didn't Crowley have a, didn't Crowley have something, Awa or Awa? Something like that? I didn't even think about it till just now. So anyone just want to chime in the chat who's, I mean, I did some, I was, okay. All right, okay. Thanks, Lee.
Case 18 was then a young girl, orphaned by a Roman raid against local dissidents. In the opening scene of this past life, she spoke about working in a tavern as a virtual slave. As a serving girl, she was constantly beaten by the owner and occasionally raped by Roman customers.
Sounds wonderful.
She died at age 26 of overwork, mistreatment,
Jesus.
and despair. This subject made the following statement from her subconscious mind about an old man in her village. I worked day and night and felt numb with pain and humiliation. He was the only person who was kind to me, who taught me to trust in myself, to have faith in something higher and finer than the cruel people around me. Later, in the superconscious state...
Okay, now doesn't that seem, just to me, it seems like, and you guys chime in as well, doesn't it seem like that's like the equalizer? I apologize. The equalizer. So you have, obviously, again, we're dealing with the soul groups, we're dealing with the, you have ones that are on your side, you have the protagonizers, you have the instigators, you have the, probably just the ones that are just kind of in between. So if you're pushing, I mean, think about it. She was raped and brutalized and all this other stuff during that incarnation, and she was so reliant on this one guide, who now she's still looking up to. So let's continue. Just throwing that out there.
This client detailed parts of other difficult lives where Owa appeared as a trusted friend, and once as a brother. In this state, she saw these people were all the same entity, and was able to name this soul as Owa, her guide. There were many lives when Owa did not appear, and sometimes his physical contact was only fleeting when he came to help her. Abruptly, I asked if Owa might possibly be in her life now. After a moment of hesitation, my subject began to shake uncontrollably. Tears came to her eyes and she cried out from the vision in her mind. Case 18.
Think about that connection. That's a huge connection right there. Making her shake and just revert to, it's just, it's sad. You know, where was the guide when all that brutality was happening? You know, why aren't they stepping in? And, you know, they were the only good person, but, well, you know, obviously didn't go far enough, maybe. I don't know. We didn't really get any more details, so maybe I should just shut my mouth. All right, let's continue. Case 18.
Subject. Oh, Lord, I knew it. I knew there was something different about him. Dr. N. About who? Subject. My son. Owa is my son Brandon. Dr. N. Your son is actually Owa? Subject. Yes, yes. Laughing and crying at the same time. I knew it. I felt it right from the day I delivered him. Something wonderfully familiar and special to me. More than just a helpless baby. Oh. Dr. N. What did you know the day he was born? Subject. I didn't really know. I felt it inside. Something more than the excitement a mother feels at the time of her firstborn. I felt he came here to help me. Don't you see? Oh, it's so fantastic. It's true. It's him. Dr. N. I work on calming my client before continuing, because her excited wiggling around is about to carry her over the side of the office recliner. Why do you think Owa is here as your baby son, Brandon? Subject. Quieter now, but still crying softly. To get me through this bad time, with hard people who won't accept me. He must have known I was in for a long period of trouble and decided to come to me as my son. We didn't talk about doing this before I was born. What a wonderful surprise. Note.
Okay, before he goes and talks about the note, she didn't know he was going to come down and do this. And it begs the question that what if she didn't know? Was there some sort of agreement with this that she made and doesn't have recollection of? It's a tough one, because it makes you wonder if this being is even the actual being that she thinks it is, and if it's not like a like, I'm a firm, well, I'll say believer, I guess. I highly suspect that everything carries over and is recorded in this, let's just call it like a capsule somewhere of everything that we've ever done in every single lifetime. And so they would know how to manipulate her to a T and give off the feeling that it's this being that she's so connected with, the teacher. So, I don't know, just something to mull over. Could be just as if she, and like, who's to say she even knew anyway? So let's see where it goes.
At the time of this session, my client was struggling to gain recognition in a highly competitive business. She was also having marital difficulties at home, partly due to being the major wage earner. I have since learned she is divorced. Dr. N, did you sense something unusual about your baby after you took him home? Subject. Yes. It started at the hospital.
Started
and this
growling.
feeling never left me. When I look into his eyes, he soothes me. Sometimes I come home so worn out, so tired and beat down. I am short-tempered with him when the babysitter leaves, but he is so patient with me. I don't even need to hold him. The way he looks at me is so wise. I didn't fully understand what this meant until now.
Wow, so there you go. She had no freaking clue. It had, of course it's her kid, so it has value in her lifetime. But she had no clue up until she sat on the damn couch that it was him. Or the recollection at that point that she's tapping into, right? You know, so it just goes to, it has to beg the question, right? Where is the value of this relationship? It's not like it's a negative one, but where's the value of the relationship of being able to tap into, let's say, I hate to even phrase it like that, but to tap into the knowledge of her son, you know, when it grows older and it starts saying things, and your whole life you have no clue that this, your son, is really like the King Pumbaa of spirit guides that you've been hanging out with in the astral realm.
Now I know. Oh, what a blessing. I wasn't sure if I should even have the baby. Now I see it all. Dr. N, what do you see? Subject, in a firm voice. As I try to advance in my profession, people are getting harder, not accepting what I know and can do. My husband and I are having trouble. He puts me down for pushing too hard, wanting to achieve. Brandon is here to keep me strong so I can overcome. Dr. N, and do you think it is all right we discovered your guide is with you as Brandon in this life? Subject, yes. If Owa didn't want me to know that he decided to come into my life, I wouldn't have come to see you. It wouldn't have been on my mind. This exceptional case represents the emotional intoxication a subject feels when an in-life contact is made with their guide. Notice the role Owa chose did not infringe upon the most typical role usually taken by a soulmate. He did not come through as her spouse, and never has in any of her past lives. Certainly, soulmates take other roles besides spouses, but an incarnating guide does not normally take on a role which might transgress between two soulmates working on their lives together. This client's soulmate happens to be an old flame from high school. Based upon all the information I was able to gather, Oa seems to have moved into the level of a junior guide in the last 2,000 years. He may possibly graduate into the blue level of a senior guide before this client has qualified herself to rise from white to a yellow energy aura. Regardless of the number of centuries this takes, Oa will remain as her guide, even though he may never incarnate again with her in a life. Do we ever catch up to our guides in development? Eventually, perhaps, but I can say I have not seen any evidence of this in my cases. Souls who develop relatively fast are gifted, but so are the guides who assist them. It is not uncommon to find guides working in pairs with people on Earth, each with their own approaches to teaching. In these cases, one is dominant, although the more experienced senior guide may actually be less evident in day-to-day activities of their charges.
So the dominant one could be most senior, but not as involved in the day-to-day. Maybe I'm mixing this up. Let's just continue.
The reason for this spiritual arrangement in tandem is because one of the pair is either in training, such as a junior guide under a senior, or the association is so long-standing between the two guides, as with a senior to a master, that a permanent relationship has evolved. The senior guide may have acquired his or her own cluster of souls, which is still monitored by a master overseeing a number of soul groups.
There's so many things wrong with this, right? I hear this, and it just disturbs me because what I hear are people who are or souls or spirits, whatever we want to call them, are so entrenched with these masters that if the master is really good at doing what they do, then they got, vampirism, exactly. Well said, Goober Bear, exactly. Vampirism, where they've got their hooks in them so well that they are capable of just lifetime after lifetime, just, pulling the puppet strings, no big deal. It's like, okay, let's run out the conveyor belt, and next. It's easy street for some of these people, or some of these so-called masters.
Teams of guides do not interfere with each other in or out of the spirit world. I have a close friend whose guides illustrate how two teachers working together complement each other. Using this individual's case is appropriate because I have observed the way this person's two guides interact in various life circumstances. My friend's junior guide appears in the form of a kindly, nurturing Native American medicine woman called Kwan. Dressed simply in a deerskin sheath, her long hair pulled back, Kwan's soft face is bathed in vivid light during her appearances. When she is called, Kwan provides a vehicle for insight and understanding events, and the individuals associated with those events, which are troubling to my friend. Kwan's desire to lighten the load of the rather difficult life my friend has chosen is tempered by a challenging male figure called Giles. Giles is clearly a senior guide who may be close to being a master in the spirit world.
You know what would be interesting to do with these names? Look up cross-reference. It would be quite a project because you kind of have to... I guess we could start keeping track of them from this point forth. Is writing down or saving these names in a Word file or something, and then cross-referencing the deeper meaning related to each of the names, and seeing what we come up with. Like, where do what are we going to take out of researching the meaning behind the name? Because our names have meaning behind them, and it would be no different with these so-called masters and spirit guides, whatever they are. Even the ones like in your soul group, things like that. It would be interesting to see if there's a pattern there. I mean, it's good. It's you're kind of really tugging at the strings at that point. But it's just something to consider. So just wanted to throw that out there. So if anyone wants to keep track of that, feel free. With the names, it's a little bit much for me on my end. But if anyone out there wants to volunteer to do that, and then we can all kind of do it as a little side project, maybe at the end of the series, it's something to think about. So if anyone does want to volunteer for that, to keep track of the names going forward, just drop a note in the chat. Thank you.
In this capacity, he does not appear nearly as often as Quan. When Giles does come into my friend's higher consciousness, he does so abruptly. Here is a sample of how a senior guide operates differently from one of junior status. Case 19. Dr. N. When you are in deep reflection over a serious problem, how does Giles come to you? Subject laughs. Not the same as Quan, I can tell you. Usually he likes to hide a little at first, behind a shadow of blue vapor. I hear him chuckling before I see him. Dr. N.
Okay, and I just, I hate to interrupt it so much, but it's something that needs to be said. There's a lot of this, this kind of like hide and seek, kidding type games going on. And if you watch the movie Soul, you'll see that constantly. It's a prevalent thing where it's, little ball breaking, a little hide and seek type thing, messing around, a lot of messing around. So, what it does is it's a good way, it's a good manipulation tool to lighten the load, so to say, to make things a little more smoother when you're deceiving and manipulating. Right? Something to think about.
You mean he appears first as a blue energy form? Subject. Yes. To hide himself a bit. He likes to be secretive, but it doesn't last long. Dr. N. Why? Subject. I don't know. To make sure I really want him, I guess. Dr. N. Well, when he shows himself, what does Giles look like to you? Subject. An Irish leprechaun. Dr. N.
What?
Oh, then he is a small man. Subject.
And what are leprechauns? Leprechauns are notoriously involved in trickery and deception and screwing around with humanity down here, right? I mean, that just goes without saying.
Laughs again. An elf figure. Tangled hair all over his wrinkled face. He looks a mess and moves constantly in all directions. Dr. N. Why does he do that? Subject. Giles is a slippery character. Impatient, too. He frowns a lot while he paces back and forth in front of me, with his arms clasped in back of him. Dr. N. And how would you interpret this behavior? Subject. Giles is not dignified like some guides, but he is very clever, crafty. Dr. N. Could you be more specific as to how this conduct relates to you? Subject. Strained. Giles has made me look upon my lives as a chess game with the earth as the board. Certain moves bring certain results, and there are no easy solutions. I plan, and then things go wrong during the game in my life. I sometimes think he lays traps for me to work through on the board.
All right. Now we're getting to some truth, right? I mean, this thing, it's a leprechaun, elf-type creature, entity, and it's messing around. So, right, and involved in their lives when they're down in the earthly matrix and getting messed with. Very telling.
Dr. N. Do you prosper with this technique of your advanced guide? Has Giles been a help to your problem-solving during the game of life? Subject. Pause. More afterward. Here, in the spirit world. But he makes me work so damn hard on Earth.
Alright, yet again we've got truth being put out where, they are your best friend and everything you want them to be when they're up there, and they'll needle you here and there. But when you come down here, all bets are off. It's basically you're left to your own devices, and that's it. So they basically have no use down here, these so-called guides. But it's a learning experience, right? Earth is a school.
Dr. N, could you get rid of him and just work with Quan? Subject smiles ruefully. It doesn't work that way here. Besides, he is brilliant. Dr. N, so we don't get to choose our guides? Subject, no way, they choose you. Dr. N, do you have any idea why you have two guides who...
Alright, sorry again to pause, but you know, you don't even get to choose your guide? You don't even have a say in it. What kind of structure is that? Like, where you don't even have a say? I would imagine if you're, you're breaking a little balls as a soul up there, that, maybe they'll give in once in a while, but this is one particular account. But keep in mind that this particular soul had no say in it, supposedly.
To approach your problems so differently in the way they help you? Subject, no, I don't, but I consider myself very fortunate. Quan is gentle and steady with her support. Note, the embodiments of Native Americans who once lived in North America make powerful spiritual guides for those of us who have followed them to live in this land. The larger number of Americans who report having such guides lends support to my belief that souls are attracted to geographical settings that they have known during earlier incarnations. Dr. N, what do you like most about Giles' teaching methods? Subject, pensively. The way he, trifles with me. Almost mocking me to do better during the game and stop feeling sorry for myself.
Mocking. Game.
When things get especially rough, he prods me and keeps me going, insisting I use all my abilities.
But guess what? You don't have those abilities down here. The abilities up there versus the abilities down here are way different.
There is nothing soft about Giles. Dr. N, and you feel this coaching on Earth even when you and I are not working together? Subject, yes, when I meditate and go inside myself, or during my dreams. Dr. N, and Giles comes when you want him? Subject, after some hesitation. No, although it seems as though I have been with him forever. Quan does come to me more. I can't just grab hold of Giles in any situation I want, unless what I have going on is really serious. He is elusive. Dr. N, sum up your feelings about Quan and Giles for me. Subject, I love Quan as a mother, but I wouldn't be where I am without Giles' discipline. They are both skillful because they allow me to benefit from my mistakes. These two guides are a cooperating team of instructors, which is standard procedure for those people who have two guides. In this case, Giles enjoys teaching karmic lessons by the Socratic method. Providing no clues in advance, he makes sure problem-solving on major issues is never easy for my friend. Quan, on the other hand, provides comfort and gentle encouragement. When my friend...
The yin and the yang.
...comes to me for a hypnosis session, I am aware that Quan remains in the background when Giles is on board and active. Giles is a caring guide, as all guides are, but without a trace of indulgence. Adversity is allowed to build to the absolute limits of my friend's ability to cope, before solutions suddenly begin to unfold.
So you gotta build up, and before you get any stepping in, so to say, you gotta go to the extreme, basically.
To be honest, I see Giles as a wicked taskmaster. This view is not really shared by my friend, who is grateful for the challenges offered by this complex teacher. What is the average spiritual guide like? In my experience, no two guides are the same. These dedicated higher entities give me the impression of having attitudinal swings toward me from one session to the next, and even within the same session with a client. They can be cooperative or obstructive, tolerant or disobliging, evasive or revealing, or just flat-out unconcerned with anything I do with a subject. I have great respect for guides, because these powerful figures play such an important part in our destiny. But I must admit they can frustrate my inquiries. I find them enigmatic, because they are unpredictable in their relations with me as a facilitator. Early in this century, it was common for mediums working with people in hypnosis to call any discarnate entity in the room a control, because they acted as the director of communications on the spiritual side for the subject. It was recognized that a spiritual control, whether a guide or not, had energy patterns which were in emotional, intellectual, and spiritual attunement with the subject. The importance of a harmonious energy pattern between facilitator and these entities was also known. If a control is blocking my investigations with a client, I search for the reason why this is happening. With some blocking guides, I must fight for every scrap of information, while others give me a great deal of latitude in a session. I never forget that guides have every right to block my approach to problems with souls under their care. After all, I have their people as my subjects for only a short while. Frankly, I would much rather have no contact with a client's guide than work with one who might assist me at one point and then block the rhythm of memory in the next portion of a session. I believe a guide's motivation for blocking information goes far beyond resisting the immediate psychological direction.
Blocking information. Blocking information. One of the things that I've talked about here and there, and I have a dedicated video for those fairly new to the channel. There's an upcoming topics video that I did, I think a few weeks ago, a week or two ago, and it goes over just that, how we are... I apologize. I lost my train of thought, guys. I'll come to it in a minute.
Therapy session is taking. I am constantly searching for new data on the spirit world. A guide who lends support to a free flow of past life memories from one of my subjects may balk at my far-reaching questions about life on other planets, the structure of the spirit world, or creation itself. This is why I am only able to collect these spiritual secrets in fragments from a large body of client information reflecting the discretion of many guides. I also feel that I am receiving assistance from my own spiritual guide during communications with subjects and their guides. Occasionally, a subject will express dissatisfaction with his or her particular guide. This is usually temporary. At any time, people are capable of believing their guides are too difficult and not working in their best interests, or just not paying enough attention to them. A subject once told me that he had tried for a long time to be assigned another guide. He said, "My guide is stonewalling me. She doesn't give enough of herself."
Guide is stonewalling me. She doesn't give enough of herself. Yeah, so, right away, again, here we go. We're dealing with a situation where they are basically saying how they're not happy, and it's so in your face. It's right in your face. So the thing I wanted to talk about was that slipped my mind just a few minutes ago, was about how you have these near-death experiences where they come back and they say when they were there, they were all knowing. Really? That couldn't be further from the truth. I do not believe that. I have seen enough over all of everything I'm looking at, all these topics and subtopics. It is so obvious that they are not all knowing when they claim that they're all knowing. I think they are being told they are all knowing because the information they are receiving, they are being told or allowed to tap into when they make such claims. So, just wanted to throw that out there to the segment just prior to this. I apologize.
The man told me his desire for a change in guides was not honored. I observed that he spent considerable time alone, without much group interaction after his last 2 lives, because he refused to deal with his issues. He projected anger toward his guide for not rescuing him from bad situations.
Ah, rightfully so, right? I'd be a little pissed off at my guide, too, if he didn't come in, or he or she or it came in and saved me when they're supposed to be there for me. They're supposed to help in some degree. Oh, no, let me just get let me get my ass kicked, from an abusive family, this or that. On and on and on. Yeah, so they have a right to be upset with their so-called guides that don't show up or help in any way until it is the absolute extreme, like when they are just at their wits' end, and those are those moments in life where you're at the complete extreme.
Our teachers really don't get perturbed with us to the point of alienation, but I notice they have a way of making themselves scarce when disgruntled students avoid real problem solving. Guides only want the best for us, and sometimes this means they must watch us endure much pain to reach certain objectives.
Tough love, right, guys?
Guides cannot assist in our progress until we are ready to make the necessary changes in order to take full advantage of life's opportunities. Do we have a reason to be fearful of our guides?
All right, so we got to take the opportunities to the fullest extent. Did any of you happen to be born with the checklist or the guidebook on how you're supposed to do that? I know I didn't. Maybe some of you did, right? I mean, obviously everybody else. I can't be alone here, right? Maybe everyone else had the guidebook, but I didn't. Come on, guys. We've all been taken and hoodwinked and messed with beyond belief. It's time we just start being honest with ourselves and call it what it is. We've all been tricked. We've all been manipulated. We've all been deceived on a grand scale. And it just takes admitting it. Yeah, it sucks, but it is what it is.
In Chapter 5, with Case 13, we saw an obviously younger soul who expressed some trepidation right after death about meeting the guide Clodes for debriefing. Typically, this concern does not last. We may feel chagrined over having to explain to our guides why goals were not attained, but they understand. They want us to interpret our past lives so we will have the benefit of assisting in the analysis of mistakes. My clients express all sorts of sentiments about their guides, but fear is not among them. On the contrary, people are more worried about being abandoned by spiritual advisors during difficult periods in their lives. Our relationship with guides is one of students and teachers, rather than defendants and judges.
Sure doesn't seem like that. Seems like it's all of the above, right?
Our personal guides help us cope with the separateness and isolation which every soul inherits at physical birth, regardless of the degree of love extended by our family. Guides give us an affirmation of self in a crowded world. People want to know if their guides always come whenever they call for help. Guides are not consistent in the manner in which they choose to assist us, because they carefully evaluate how badly they are needed. I am also asked if hypnosis is the best way to get in contact with one's guide. Naturally, I lean toward hypnosis, because I know how potent and effective this medium can be to obtain detailed spiritual information. However, hypnosis by a trained facilitator is not convenient on a daily basis, where meditation, prayer, and perhaps channeling with another person would be. Self-hypnosis as a form of deep meditation is an excellent alternative, and may be preferred by those who have a fear of being hypnotized by others, or don't want the interference of a second party in their spiritual life. Regardless of the method used, we all have the capacity to send out far-reaching thought waves from our higher consciousness. Every person's thoughts represent a mental fingerprint to guides marking who and where we are. During our lives, especially in periods of great stress, most people feel the presence of someone watching out for them. We may not be able to describe this power, but it is there nonetheless. Reaching our soul is the first step on the ladder of finding our higher power. All lines of mental communication we use to reach a Godhead are monitored by our guides on this step. They too have their guides further up the ladder. The entire ladder serves as one unbroken conduit to the source of all intelligent energy, with each rung being part of the whole. It is essential for people to have faith that a prayer for help will be answered by their own higher power. This is why guides are vitally important to our spiritual and temporal lives. If we are relaxed and in a state of concentrated focus, an inner voice speaks to us. And even if we didn't initiate the message, we should trust what we hear.
Bear, rat, what I'll say, bro, it's tough to say for certain with all of this, right? He says this part is a load of shit. They are guides, not guardians. However we want to look at it, however you want to look at it, however anyone wants to look at all of this stuff is up to them. But I just happen to see certain patterns with things that line up. I agree that not all of this seems to resonate with me. I see issues in things too. But it's more about the overall picture. With your specific part, your specific statement about this part's a load of shit, they're guys, not guardians. I don't know, man. You know, I think there are, from everything I can tell, there's definitely a so-called guide, and then there's someone above that guide who is almost like an overseer of you, and what it seems to me, an overseer of even some of the group that you may be linked to. How that all plays out, I really don't know. So that's just my opinion on it. But I just think that there's a couple things going on here, and either way they leave you in the dust when you're down here. That much is clear. So I don't know, just my opinion on it. But everyone, yeah, I mean, anyone listening to any of this, you have to kind of just, you can't take everything literal. There's stuff you're gonna hear here that if it doesn't jive with what you've looked into, then that's cool, no big deal. And please speak your piece. Like if there's parts in here that you feel are total bullshit, just say it. Yeah, we'll talk about it. And if there's certain hopefully if I catch the chat, I'm not very good with the chat, but I'm trying to keep an eye on it. So we could obviously have a discussion about this. Maybe if you guys are interested, after the whole series is over, we can even maybe have a group discussion. I don't know. I'll just throw that out there if anyone's interested. And, feel free, if you want, even take notes on things you have problems with, things you connect with as we're listening to all this. And if you want, if enough people are interested, I'll gladly do a live stream and we can all have an open panel discussion on it and see what happens. So... because I value everyone's opinion and thoughts on what they're hearing, because I know a lot of you have looked into this stuff too. So this is just if I'm shooting off the cuff with my feelings on it. So please share your thoughts, and let's and again, if there's enough people interested, I will gladly do an open panel live stream where we can have, I have a phone number I purchased a few months back that links to the channel, and then obviously we have Skype and Discord and Zoom, so we can even just have people call in and we can have like an open discussion about it after the series is over. So yeah, feel free to grab a notebook, take some notes about what you agree with, what you don't agree with. Maybe even if you want, write down, okay, in part 3 I didn't agree with this, part 2 I agree with this part but didn't agree with that, etc., etc. All right, I don't want to keep ranting here, but it's not even a rant. It's just I want us to be able to have these type of discussion. I think it's really important that we all share our views on what we think's going on and what we think is complete horseshit.
National surveys by psychologists indicate 1 person in 10 admits to hearing voices, which are frequently positive and instructional in nature. It is a relief for many people to learn their inner voices are not hallucinations associated with the mentally ill. Rather than something to be worried about, an inner voice is like having your own resident counselor on call. More often than not, These voices are those of our guides. Guides assigned to different souls do work together, relaying urgent mental messages for each other. People unable to help themselves in critical situations may find counselors, friends, and even strangers coming to their aid at just the right moment. The inner strength which comes to us in our daily lives does not arrive as much by a visual picture of actually seeing our guides as from the feelings and emotions which convince us we are not alone. People who listen and encourage their inner voice through quiet contemplation say they feel a personal connection with an energy beyond themselves, which offers support and reassurance. If you prefer to call this internal guidance system inspiration or intuition, that is fine, because the system which aids us is an aspect of ourselves as well as higher powers. During troublesome times in our lives, we have the tendency to ask for guidance to immediately set things right. When they are in trance, my clients see that their guides don't help them solve all their problems at once. Rather, they illuminate pathways by the use of clues. This is one reason why I'm cautious about client blocking during hypnosis. Insight is best revealed with a controlled pace, relative to each person. A concerned teacher may not want all aspects of a problem uncovered at a given point in time for his or her student. We vary in our ability to handle revelations. When asking for help from your higher spiritual power, I think it is best not to demand immediate change. Our success in life is predicated on planning, but we do have alternative paths to choose from to reach certain goals. When seeking guidance, I suggest requesting help with just the next step in your life. When you do this, be prepared for unexpected possibilities. Have the faith and humility to open yourself up to a variety of paths toward solutions. After death, we do not experience sadness as souls with the same emotional definition as grief felt in physical form. Yet, as we have already seen, souls are not detached beings without feelings.
Again, they are of no use once the time comes.
I have learned those powers who watch over us also feel what I call a spiritual sorrow when they see us making poor choices in life and going through pain.
Oh, they have so much sorrow for us. They're so concerned. But yet they'll just sit there, no big deal. They can interact with this reality, come in and out of it. Let's not fool ourselves. We're not babies here. Most of us are well read on this stuff. Let's just call it what it is. This is all by design.
Certainly our soulmates and peers suffer distress when we are tormented. But so do our guides. Guides may not show sorrow in orientation conferences and during soul group discussions between lives, but they keenly feel their responsibilities toward us as teachers. In Chapter 11, we will get the perspective of a guide at level 5.
Oh.
I have never found a person who is a living grade 6 or master guide as a subject. I suspect we don't have a whole lot of these advanced souls on Earth at any one time.
Boy, I wonder why. Would they happen to be part of the control structure?
Most level 6s are much too involved with planning and directing from the spirit world to incarnate any longer. From the reports of the level 5s I have had, it would seem the level 6 has no new lessons to learn. But I have a hunch a still incarnating soul at level 5 may not know all the esoteric tasks involved with master-level entities. Once in a while, during a session with a more advanced soul, I hear references to an even higher level of soul than level 6. These entities, to whom even the masters report, are in the darkest purple range of energy. These superior beings must be getting close to the Creator. I am told these shadowy figures are elusive, but highly venerated beings in the spirit world.
Again, it does seem, based on what I've read too, it's like you're only allowed a certain level of knowledge, even like on the soul classes, the soul school classes. There's like a blackout going on with even that, like where you can't even figure out what the hell is going on in these things. They talk about it, but you don't get anything really added to the mix. You get little bits and pieces, either almost in passing when they're talking to other souls, or just very, very fragmented things, but nothing of substance where you truly know what the hell is going on. Everything seems to be more on the individual basis of what we learn on these classes and whatever the hell is going on outside of, here, when you leave here and get stuck into the trap.
The average client doesn't know if spiritual guides should be placed in a less than divine category or considered lesser gods because of their advancement. There is nothing wrong with any spiritual concept, as long as it provides comfort, is uplifting, and makes sense to each individual. Although some of my clients have the tendency to consider guides godlike, they are not God. In my opinion, guides are no more or less divine than we are, which is why they are seen as personal beings. In all my cases, God is never seen. People in hypnosis say they feel the presence of a supreme power directing the spirit world, but they are uncomfortable using the word God to describe a creator. Perhaps the philosopher Spinoza said it best with these words: God is not he who is, but that which is. Every soul has a spiritual higher power linked to its existence. All souls are part of the same divine essence generated from one oversoul. This intelligent energy is universal in scope, and so we all share in divine status. If our soul reflects a small portion of the oversoul we call God, then our guides provide the mirror by which we are able to see ourselves connected to this Creator.
This audiobook has...
Okay, just really quick, I have to go refill my water briefly. I won't be long, so just bear with me for about 30 seconds. Okay. Okay, guys, sorry about that. Okay, now, just had to put that up there so I know where to cut the video later. Okay, so let's get to part 2. Okay, this should be where we're left off here.
Souls who are truly young in terms of exposure to an existence out of the spirit world, and souls who have been reincarnating on Earth for a long period of relative time, but still remain immature. I find beginner souls of both types in levels 1 and 2. I believe almost 3/4 of all souls who inhabit human bodies on Earth today are still in the early stages of development. I know this is a grossly discouraging statement, because it means most of our human population is operating at the lower end of their training.
Oh, well, what a surprise, right? What a surprise. You know, basically I think the way the advancement system works is, okay, either you're going to join the party and be a corrupted soul and a malignant pile of trash against everything and everyone, or you're going to be stuck at kindergarten the rest of your journey until you reach a level like us where we have figured out that there is a deception, a manipulation, and a Matrix Reincarnation Soul trap rearing its ugly head. For those who are new to this concept, I beg of you, this is the topic that you need to be looking into. If I don't resonate with you, that's fine. Oh man, I'm getting ringing in my ears. If I don't resonate with you and my style or whatever, that's fine. I understand I'm a little loud, little outlandish at times, but my heart's in the right place. And if this channel doesn't work for you, that's fine. I understand it, but just make sure if you are going to look into this topic that you're not deceived by these people out there who are telling you to go to certain places or follow certain gurus. Everything is within you. Everything should be sovereignty and liberation. So if my style isn't connecting and you find someone else that does, that's great. Or if you go out on your own and do your own research, which I highly, highly suggest everyone does this and meditates, works on out-of-body experiences, etc. Just make sure everything is rooted in sovereignty and withdrawing consent. That is the most important thing of all. You don't have to hang around here. I want everyone to do their own inner work and their own research. This channel should only be just about you hearing some information on this is part of my journey. This is information that I've reviewed and looked over through the years and has resonated with me and felt it was important to share it to help further show part of the reincarnation trap. And my channel goes back pretty far talking about this concept. But it's not all about that either. There's a lot of older stuff too. Just about exposing, the mechanics of the system and the realm itself. So, just do what you need to do for yourself, but make sure that everything that you're looking at is based in sovereignty and liberation and denying consent of all this stuff. That's all. So again, if I touched a nerve or something, just always keep that in mind. That's the most important thing. No gurus. No gurus. No one telling you to go in between the net or go here or go there, go to this light, go to that light, take a 30-degree turn. I mean, there is so much crap out there on this topic that is completely unnecessary, that it's just going to have you spinning your wheels. And that's the way it is with all these topics. Everything that we look into in life has multiple layers of things. So I'm going to continue with the book, but just remember, everything is layered upon layer upon layers to keep you as distracted as possible from getting the easiest answer, and that's about pronouncing your sovereignty and denying consent when you cross over. Okay, my rant's over. Let's continue.
On the other hand, when I consider a world population beset by so much negative cross-cultural misunderstanding and violence, I am not inclined to change my opinion about the high percentage of lower-level souls on Earth. However, I do think each century brings improvement of awareness in all humans. Over a number of years, I have maintained a statistical count of client soul levels in my case files. Undoubtedly, the figures are weighted to some extent at the lower levels, because these subjects were not selected at random. My cases could be overrepresented by souls at the lower levels of development because they are the very people who require assistance in life and might come to me seeking information. For those who are curious, the percentages by soul level of all my cases are as follows. Level 1, 42%. Level 2, 31%. Level 3, 17%. Level 4, 9%. And level 5, 1%. Projecting these figures into a world population of 5 billion souls would be unreliable, using my small sample. Nevertheless, I see the possibility we may have only a few 100,000 people on Earth at level 5. My subjects state that souls end their incarnations on Earth when they reach full maturity. What is significant about the high percentage of souls in the early stages of development is our rapidly multiplying population and the urgency babies have for available souls. We are increasing by 260,000 children per day. This human necessity for souls means they must normally be drawn from a spiritual pool of less advanced entities who require more incarnations to progress and are, therefore, more available to return to another life. I am sensitive to the feelings of clients whom I know to be in the early stages of development. I cannot count the number of times a new client has come into my office and said, "I know I am an old soul, but I seem to have problems coping with life." We all want to be advanced souls, because most people hate to be considered a beginner in anything. Every case is unique. There are variables within each soul's character, individual development rate, and the qualities of the guides assigned to them. I see my task as offering interpretations of what subjects report to me about the progression of their souls. I have had many cases where a client has been incarnating for up to 30,000 years on Earth and is still in the lower levels of 1 and 2. The reverse is also true with a few people, although rapid acceleration in spiritual development is uncommon. As with any educational model, students find certain lessons more difficult than others. One of my clients has not been able to conquer envy for 850 years in numerous lives, but she did not have too much trouble overcoming bigotry by the end of this same period. Another has spent nearly 1,700 years off and on seeking some sort of authoritative power over others. However, he has gained compassion. The next case represents an absolute beginner soul. This novice shows no evidence of having a spiritual group assignment as yet, because she has lived too few past lives. In her first life, she was killed in 1260 AD in northern Syria by a Mongol invasion. Her name was Shabez, and her settlement was sacked, resulting in a terrible massacre of the inhabitants when she was 5 years old. Case 20. Dr. N. Shabez, now that you have died and returned to the spirit world, tell me what you feel. Subject shouts, "Cheated! That life was so cruel! I couldn't stay. I was only a little girl unable to help anybody. What a mistake." Dr. N. Who made this mistake? Subject, in a conspiratorial tone, "My leader. I trusted his judgment, but he was wrong to send me into that cruel life."
Hear that? How much you need to hear? I mean, that one is right in your face. Let's just rewind, just briefly.
Cheated. That life was so cruel.
So cruel.
I couldn't stay. I was only a little girl unable to help anybody.
A little
What
girl.
a mistake.
Unable to help.
Dr. N. Who made this mistake? Subject, in a conspiratorial tone, "My leader. I trusted his judgment."
You notice how he threw in the conspiratorial tone? That's interesting wording, isn't it?
But he was wrong to send me into that cruel life.
He was wrong.
To be killed before my life got started. Dr. N. But you did agree to come into the body of Shabez.
There we go.
Subject, upset. I didn't know Earth would be such an awful place full of terror. I wasn't given all the facts.
Ah, boy, doesn't that sound familiar, right? We've all been down that road. We weren't given all the information. And yet, here we are. Left to our own devices. Not like the whole point, right, is to not rely on outside forces at this point. We've figured out that the outside forces are working against us, not for us.
The whole stupid life was a mistake, and my leader is responsible.
Responsible.
Dr. N. Didn't you learn anything from this life? Subject, pause. I started to learn to love. Yes, that was wonderful. My brother, parents, but it was so short. Dr. N. Did anything good come out of this life? Subject, my brother Ahmed, To be with him. Dr. N. Is Ahmed in your present life? Subject. Suddenly my subject rises out of her chair. I can't believe it. Ahmed is my husband Bill, the same person. How can... Dr. N.
Didn't even know it. Had no clue. All of a sudden there's a coming of information that points in this direction. Of her or him figuring out, I forgot which sex it was.
After calming subject, I explain the process of soul transference to a new body, and then continue. Do you see Ahmed on your return to the spirit world after dying as Chavez? Subject. Yes. Our leader brings us together here, where we stay. Dr. N. Does Ahmed emit the same energy color as yourself, or are there differences? Subject. Pause. We are all white. Dr. N. Describe what you do here. Subject. While our leader comes and goes, Ahmed and I just work together. Dr. N. Doing what? Subject. We search out what we think about ourselves, our experience on Earth. I'm still sore about us being killed so soon. But there was happiness, walking in the sun, breathing the air of Earth, love. Dr. N. Go back further to the time before you and Ahmed had your life together, perhaps when you were alone. What was it like being created? Subject. Disturbed. I don't know. I was just here, with thought. Dr. N. Do you remember during your own creation, when you first began to think as an intelligent being? Subject. I realized I existed, but I didn't know myself as myself until I was moved into this quiet place alone with Ahmed.
Oh, isn't that interesting? So, Dr. Newton is going back to the point of creation of this being. But the being didn't realize anything about itself until it met Ahmed. So where's, you know as well as I do that there's a gap there. There's a missing component somewhere in there where a memory again of past life experience traversing the multiverse is gone. It's just erased, eradicated. And I think it's because everything falls under the umbrella of the realm. It's this ignorance that is just placed over us, this fragmentation, so to say, of our memories of ourself, and we are used and abused endlessly until we figure the way out of here. That's what it all comes down to.
Dr. N. Are you saying your individual identity came more into focus when you began interacting with another soul entity besides your guide? Subject. Yes, with Ahmed. Dr. N. Keep to the time before Ahmed. What was it like for you then? Subject. Warm. Nurturing. My mind opening. She was with me then. Dr. N. She? I thought your leader displayed a male gender to you.
Oh.
Subject. I don't mean him. Someone was around me with the presence of a mother and father. Mostly mother. Dr. N. What presence? Subject. I don't know. A soft light. Changing features. I can't grasp it. Loving messages. Encouragement. Dr. N. This was at the time of your creation as a soul? Subject. Yes. It's all hazy. There were others, helpers, when I was born. Dr. N, what else can you tell me about the place of your creation? Subject, long pause. Others love me. In a nursery. Then we left, and I was with Ahmed and our leader. Dr. N, who actually created you and Ahmed? Subject, the One. I have learned there seems to be a kind of spirit world maternity ward for newborn souls.
Imagine, I just do not believe. Nothing inside me can ever convince me, no one can ever convince me, that we came from this universe and substructure. Nothing. I know I'm not from not just Earth, but anything going on outside of its umbrella of realms. I don't buy it. What we're dealing with here is flat out deception and manipulation. I mean, I'm paraphrasing here on what I think is going on, but I think we get it. Just think about how much we read in these near-death experiences about how, the light is so mesmerizing. It drags us in, all right, at the time of death. I think there's something very similar at the so-called border of this universe that sucks us in, catches our attention. We're roaming around outside in the multiverse. We're on the skirts of the outside, and we see this doorway, so to say, this light, whatever the heck it may be, this portal. And I think I feel confident in saying this, that most of us here are very curious beings. We like to look into things. We like to explore things. So, for me personally, this is just me, I can see how I can get sucked into something like this out of curiosity's sake. Okay? The yearning to experience, the yearning to explore and see what the universe, the multiverse, has to offer. So I figure I roll up to the gates and say, okay, well, here are some of the rules at the doorway. And they say, okay, well, blah, 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 this, and that. And, it's probably all, rainbows, fairy dust, and unicorn initially. And then slowly you start to get degraded and degraded and degraded and fragmented and fragmented and fragmented until eventually you come down here and you fall under this structure and its substructures outside in the astral realm. And it's like a loop. It's a never-ending loop until you freaking learn your way out of here. What got us, most of us here, I'm not speaking for everybody, but what got us here? The curiosity of figuring out what the hell this place is all about. What is Earth all about, right? We're all here today because we've reached a point where we are just questioning everything, wondering what the hell is going on, and how do we make sure that we don't come back? I think the same applies on the outside. When we first got here, it was probably curiosity. It was the yearning to experience something different that we might otherwise have not experienced yet. And there's some sort of pull, there's some sort of outside force that makes it attractive to us to want to say, hey, let's give it a try. And then once you get sucked in here and under its wings, it's very hard to get out. It's a really screwed up game. So that's just my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. Let's continue.
Client told me, this place is where infantile light is arranged in a honeycomb fashion, as unhatched eggs ready to be used. In Chapter 4 on displaced souls, we saw how damaged souls can be remodeled. My conjecture is these creation centers described by Chavez have the same function. In the next chapter, Case 22 will explain more about spiritual areas of ego creation, where raw, undefined energy can be manipulated into a genesis of self. Case 20 has some obvious traits of the immature soul. The subject is a 67-year-old woman who has had a lifetime of getting into disastrous ruts. She does not demonstrate a generosity of spirit toward others, nor does she take much personal responsibility for her actions. This client came to me searching for answers as to why life had cheated me out of happiness. In our session, we learned Ahmed was her first husband, Bill. She left him long ago for another man whom she also divorced because of her inability to bond with people. She does not feel close to any of her children. The beginner's soul may live a number of lives in a state of confusion and ineffectiveness, influenced by an earth curriculum which is different from the coherence and supportive harmony of the spirit world. Less developed souls are inclined to surrender their will to the controlling aspects of human society, with a socioeconomic structure which causes a large proportion of people to be subordinate to others. The inexperienced soul tends to be stifled by a lack of independent thinking. They also lean towards being self-centered and don't easily accept others for who they are. It is not my intention to paint a totally bleak portrait of souls who comprise so much of our world population, if my estimates of the high numbers of this category of soul are accurate. Lower-level souls are also able to lead lives which have many positive elements. Otherwise, no one would advance. No stigma should be attached to these souls, since every soul was once a beginner. If we become angry, resentful, and confused by our life situations, this does not necessarily mean we possess an underdeveloped spirit. Soul development is a complex matter, where we all progress by degrees in a variety of areas.
Ah, boy, sounds like the masonry structure, right? Masonry structure. You know, it's just, it's everything out there is based on a level up type system. And Dr. Newton himself admitted earlier, which he kind of contradicts himself, how we are mostly, according to him, a bunch of undeveloped souls, and that's what's going on with Earth as of the publishing of this book. And I think it's safe to say that that's probably where they leave us, and, you know, spinning our wheels constantly, no pun intended, until we figure out the damn game. And there's very few of us out there who actually figure it out. That's why it's such a serious topic, that, you know, basically we're the outcasts of the realm. You know, we're bad influences. Why do you think when we go and we want to talk to our family members and friends about nothing even to do with this, you know, just the smallest thing that goes against the narrative that has been instilled in their lives, we get looked at like the crazy ones who have, you know, we're out to lunch, we're nuts, etc., etc.
An uneven manner. The important thing is to recognize our faults, avoid self-denial, and have the courage and self-sufficiency to make constant adjustments in our lives. One of the clear indications that souls are coming out of novice status is when they leave their spiritual existence of relative isolation. They are removed from small family cocoons with other novices and placed in a larger group of beginner souls. At this stage, they are less dependent upon close supervision and special nurturing from their guides. For the younger souls, the first realization that they are part of a substantial group of spirits like themselves is a source of delight. Generally, I find this important spiritual event has occurred by the end of a fifth life on Earth, regardless of the relative length of time the novice soul was in semi-isolation.
Yeah.
Some of the entities of these new spiritual groups are the souls of relatives and friends with whom the young soul was associated in their few past lives on Earth. What is especially significant about the formation of a new cluster group is that other peer group members are also newer souls who find themselves together for the first time. In Chapter 7 on placement, we saw how a soul group appeared when Case 16 rejoined them, and the manner in which life experiences were studied through pictorial scenes, as reported by this subject. Case 21 will offer a more detailed account of spiritual group dynamics, and how members impact on each other. The capacity of souls to learn certain lessons may be stronger or weaker between one another, depending upon inclination, motivation, and prior incarnation experience. Cluster groups are carefully designed to give peer support through a sensitivity of identity traits between all members. This cohesiveness is far beyond what we know on Earth. Although the next case is presented from the perspective of one group member, his superconscious mind provides an objectivity into the process of what goes on in groups. My subject will describe a grandiose, male-oriented spiritual group. The raucous entities of this group are linked by exhibitionism, which could be labeled narcissistic. The common approaches these souls use in finding personal value is one indication why they are working together. The extravagant behavior modes of these souls is offset to some extent by their spiritual prescience. Since the complete truth is known by all group members about each other in a telepathic world, humor is indispensable.
So here we go again with humor. You know, you gotta lighten the load, right? You gotta try and hook people. And what do we like down here? We like to laugh. We like to have a good time and be sarcastic, etc., etc. It's no different up there. It seems like that same manipulation tactic is used up there. Except today, God forbid you say anything without getting lit up. Whereas, when I was younger, and even not that long ago, we all were able to have a good time and, break some stones here and there, stuff like that, and laugh about it. Today, that's not even allowed. You're not even allowed to have a good time and break some stones. And people get upset over the smallest, stupidest things. And where does that all come from? It hasn't come from us as a society. It's come from a control structure that has placed it onto society and made it wrong for you to just have a good time and laugh at something. I've always looked at myself personally as a equal opportunity offender in good taste, for fun. We each have a little fun at each other's expense. I grew up in the Northeast of the United States, and that's the way it was. That's the family I grew up in. That's the neighborhood I grew up in. And we all had a good time just having fun, laughing at each other's, faults. And it wasn't a big deal. Today, you say anything and get someone upset, they're basically going to have a full-blown panic attack and go crying off in a corner. What happened to a little levity, a little fun? That's not even allowed these days. So they use that tactic up there. I don't, to what extent, who knows, but it's obviously a manipulation and deception tactic to throw a little levity into the situation, just like we would down here, to continue on the process and keep you stuck inside that system.
Some readers may find it hard to accept that souls do joke with each other about their failings, but humor is the basis upon which self-deception and hypocrisy are exposed.
Self-deception.
Ego defenses are so well understood by everyone in spiritual groups that evidence of a mastery of oneself among peers is a strong incentive for change. Spiritual therapy occurs because of honest peer feedback, mutual trust, and the desire to advance with others over eons of time. Souls can hurt, and they need caring entities around them. The curative power of spiritual group interaction is quite remarkable. Soul members network by the use of criticism and acclaim, as each strives toward common goals. Some of the best help I am able to give my clients comes from information I receive about their soul group. Spiritual groups are a primary means of soul instruction. Learning appears to come as much from one's peers as from the skills of guides who monitor these groups. In the case which follows, my client has finished reliving his last past life as a Dutch artist living in Amsterdam. He died of pneumonia at a young age in 1841, about the time he was gaining recognition for his painting. We have just rejoined his spiritual group when my subject bursts out laughing.
Alright, so just as he's starting to get recognized, oops, he kicks the bucket. What a shame, huh? That doesn't seem coincidental, does it? Build you up and take you down and, put you through the meat grinder yet again. It's very similar to the movie Soul. And just to throw this out there for anyone who's not aware, we are going to have a group watch party of the movie Soul. It's by Disney and Pixar, and for anyone who hasn't seen it, even if you don't want to join the watch party, I highly, highly recommend watching the movie. It's a must watch if you're looking into this type of stuff. It shows a lot of what is discussed here and by others about the Matrix Reincarnation Soul trap. It shows manipulation, deception, and it even a lot of it crosses over into this book. It's incredible. So anyone out there who hasn't watched the movie yet, you got to watch it at least a few times. And anyone who wants to join the watch party, I'm going to do commentary of the whole movie, and then afterwards we're going to have an open group discussion. And however long it goes, it's going to be a lot of fun. I've had quite a bit of emails on it, so anyone who wants to join, just quickly take down my email, foreverconsciousresearch@gmail.com. That's foreverconsciousresearch@gmail.com. Just please put in the subject Soul Watch Party, because I'm trying to organize the emails, and I don't have a date and time set up yet, but it will be on a Saturday or Sunday in the next few weeks or month or so. And you do need I can't do it here on YouTube. That's why I'm asking everyone to email me first, and I will send out an email with the login details and where we're going to have it. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So anyone who wants to join in on that, just shoot me an email, foreverconsciousresearch@gmail.com.
Case 21. Dr. N. Why are you laughing? Subject. I'm back with my friends and they are giving me a hard time. Dr. N. Why? Subject. Because I'm wearing my fancy buckled shoes and the bright green velvet jacket, with yellow piping down the sides. I'm flashing them my big floppy painter's hat. Dr. N. They are kidding you about projecting yourself wearing these clothes? Subject. You know it. I was so vain about clothes, and I cut a really fine figure as an artist in Amsterdam Cafe Society. I enjoyed this role and played it well. I don't want it to end. Dr. N. What happens next? Subject. My old friends are around me, and we are talking about the foolishness of life. We rib each other about how dramatic it all is down there on Earth, and how seriously we all take our lives. Dr. N. You and your friends don't think it is important to take life on Earth seriously? Subject. Look, Earth is one big stage play. We all know that. Dr. N. And your group is united in this feeling? Subject. Sure. We see ourselves as actors in a gigantic stage production. Dr. N. How many entities are in your particular cluster group in the spirit world? Subject. Pause. Well, we work with some others, but there are 5 of us who are close. Dr. N. By what name do they call you? Subject. Lem. No, that's not right. It's Alum. That's me. Dr. N. All right, Alum. Tell me about your close friends. Subject. Laughs. Norcross. He is the funniest. At least he is the most boisterous. Dr. N. Is Norcross the leader of your group? Subject. No, he is just the loudest. We are all equal here, but we have our differences. Norcross is blunt and opinionated. Dr. N. Really? Then how would you characterize his Earth behavior? Subject. Oh, as being rather unscrupulous, but not dangerous. Dr. N, who is the quietest and most unassuming member of your group? Subject, quizzical. How did you guess? It's Velo. Dr. N, does this attribute make Velo the least effective contributing member of your group? Subject, where did you get that idea? Velo comes up with some interesting thoughts about the rest of us. Dr. N, give me an example. Subject, in my life in Holland, the old Dutch couple who adopted me after my parents died, they had a beautiful garden. Velo reminds me of my debt to them, that the garden triggered my painting, to see life as an artist, and what I didn't do with my talent. Dr. N,
Failures.
does Velo convey any other thoughts to you about this? Subject, sadly, that I should have done less drinking and strutting around and painted more, that my art was reaching the point of touching people. Subject pulls his shoulders back. But I wasn't going to stay cooped up painting all the time. Dr. N, do you have respect for Velo's opinions? Subject, with a deep sigh. Yes, we know he is our conscience. Dr. N, so what do you say to him? Subject, I say, innkeeper, mind your own business. You were having fun, too.
Oh.
Dr. N,
Uh-oh.
Velo was an innkeeper? Subject, yes, in Holland. Engaged in a business for profit, I might add. Dr. N, do you feel this was wrong of Velo? Subject, contrite.
Good question.
No, not really. We all know he took losses to help those poor people on the road who needed
Not really, and contrite.
food and shelter. His life was beneficial to others. Dr. N, I would guess telepathic communication makes it hard to sustain your arguments when the complete truth is known by everyone. Subject, yes, we all know Velo is progressing. Damn. Dr. N, does it bother you that Velo may be advancing faster than the rest of you? Subject, yes, we have had such fun. Subject then recalls an earlier life with Velo, where they traveled together as brothers in India. Dr. N, what will happen to Velo? Subject, he is going to leave us soon. We all know that. To have associations with the others who have also gone. Dr. N, how many souls have left your original group, Alum? Subject, a long pause and then ruefully, oh, a couple have moved on.
Okay, so there's been a couple that have moved on. Are those the ones that escaped? Or did they fall under the reign of another so-called teacher and moved up in the pyramid because they decided to become parasites of the system? We have no clue.
We will eventually catch up to them, but not for a while.
Not for a while.
They haven't disappeared. We just don't see their energy as much. Dr. N, name the others of your immediate group for me, besides Velo and Norcross. Subject, brightening. Dubry and Trinian. Now those two know how to have a good time. Dr. N, what is the most obvious identifying characteristic of your group? Subject, with relish. Adventure. Excitement. We have some real pioneer types around here. Subject rushes on happily. Dubry just came off a wild life as a sea captain. Norcross was a freewheeling trading merchant. We live life to its fullest because we are talented at taking what life has to offer. Dr. N, I'm hearing a lot of self-gratification here, Alum. Subject, defensively. And what's wrong with that? Our group is not made up of shrinking violets, you know.
Wow, so you notice there's this kind of overtone that goes on, that anytime something is questioned in a manner that is going to expose something, there's this pushback that goes on. That's something I noticed the first time I watched it. So, I'm sorry, first time I listened to this book. I didn't actually I have a hard copy, but I actually listened to this exact recording. So just think about that. There's that. You'll probably see it. I mean, we have so much further to go in this series that seems to be a thing where anytime there's a little bit of pushback on something that seems important in our eyes, or from Michael Newton's eyes, there's like a hesitation. There's someone gets upset. Something happens where we're able to see that through what is being conveyed. So let's go on.
Dr. N. What's the story on Trinian's last life? Subject. React boisterously. He was a bishop. Can you believe it? What hypocrisy. Dr. N. In what way? Subject. What self-deception. Norcross, Dubry, and I tell Trinian his choice to be a churchman had nothing to do with goodness, charity, or spirituality. Dr. N. And what does Trinian's soul mentally project to you in self-defense? Subject. He tells us he gave solace to many people. Dr. N. What do you, Norcross, and Dubry tell him in response? Subject. That he is going soft. Norcross tells him that he wanted money, or otherwise he would have been a simple priest. Ah, that's telling him. And I'm saying the same thing. You can guess what Dubry thinks about all this. Dr. N. No, tell me. Subject. That Trinian picked a large city with a rich cathedral, spilling a ton of money into Trinian's fat pockets.
Interesting.
Dr. N. And what do you tell Trinian yourself? Subject. Oh, I'm attracted to the fancy robes he wore. Bright red, the finest of cloth.
Bright red, the finest of cloths. And what do we hear constantly with these near-death experiences, and even with these, the life between lives, the pre-birth memories? We constantly are hearing about figures wearing robes. It's a overarching theme that continually presents itself and should be scrutinized because it's conveying something, in this case particularly a position of power. And red.
Bishop's ring, which he loved, and all the gold and silver around. I also mention his desire to bask in adulation from his flock. Trinian can hide nothing from us. He wanted an easy, cushy life where he was well fed. Dr. N. Does he try to explain his motivations for choosing this life? Subject. Yes, but Norcross reproaches him. He confronts Trinian on seducing a young girl in the vestry. Jovially. Yes, it actually happened. So much for providing solace to parishioners. We know Trinian for who he really is. An outright rogue. Dr. N. Does Trinian offer any excuses to the group for his conduct? Subject. Subject becomes quieter. Oh, the usual. He got carried away with the girl's need for him. She had no family. He was lonely in his choice of a celibate church life. He says he was trying to get away from the customary lives we all choose by...
Alright, I'm just going to rewind that just a little bit. I think it's worth hearing again. Just 30 seconds.
He confronts Trinian on seducing a young girl in the vestry. Jovially. Yes, it actually happened. So much for providing solace to parishioners. We know Trinian for who he really is. An outright rogue. Dr. N.
An outright rogue. A perceived rogue who is in the church. Interesting, isn't it?
Does Trinian offer any excuses to the group for his conduct? Subject. Subject becomes quieter.
Quieter.
Oh, the usual. He got carried away with the girl's need for him. She had no family. He was lonely in his choice of a celibate church life.
No family, was upset with the celibate lifestyle. Sounds like something familiar we've seen down here, right? Seems, in my estimation, it seems pretty much cut and dry. What do we see constantly with these priests or men and women of the cloth? They end up cracking and, you know, being investigated for this, or there's some rumors about that. They're not allowed to have a wife, they're not allowed to have a husband, blah blah blah. And I find it interesting that this case, the soul got quiet when the important information started to, or the important questions started to be asked.
He says he was trying to get away from the customary lives we all choose by going into the church.
Oh.
That he fell in love with the girl. Dr. N.
Fair enough.
And how do you, Norcross and Dubry, feel about Trinian now? Subject, severely. We think he is trying to follow Velo as an advancing soul, but he failed. His pious intentions just didn't work for him. Dr. N. Alum, you sound rather cynical about Trinian's attempts to improve himself and make changes. Tell me honestly, how do you feel about Trinian? Subject. Oh, we are just teasing him. After all... Dr. N. Your amusement sounds as if you are scornful over what may have been Trinian's good intentions.
Good question.
Subject. Sadly. You're right. And we all know that. But, you see, Norcross, Dubry, and I, well, we don't want to lose him from the group, too. Dr. N. What does Velo say about Trinian? Subject. He defends Trinian's original good intentions and tells him that he fell into a trap of self-gratification during...
Oh, defend. Fell into a trap of self-gratification.
...in this life in the church. Trinian wants too much admiration and attention. Dr. N. Forgive me.
I think it's because the rules don't really apply as much, right? For this one. And he just happens to be a member of the church.
Dr. N. What does Velo say about Trinian? Subject. He defends Trinian's original good intentions and tells him that he fell into a trap of self-gratification during this life in the church. Trinian wants too much admiration and attention. Dr. N. Forgive me for passing judgment on your group, Alum, but it seems to me this is something you all want, except perhaps Velo? Subject. Hey, Velo can be pretty smug. Let me tell you, his problem is conceit, and Dubry tells him that in no uncertain terms. Dr. N. And does Velo deny it? Subject. No, he doesn't. He says at least he is working on it. Dr. N. Who among you is the most sensitive to criticism? Subject. Pause. Oh, I guess it would be Norcross. But it's hard for all of us to accept our faults. Dr. N. Level with me, Alum. Does it bother the members of your soul group when things can't be hidden from the others? When all your shortcomings in a past life are revealed?
Great question.
Subject. Pause. We are sensitive about it, but not morbid. There is great understanding here among us. I wanted to give artistic pleasure to people and grow through the meaning of art.
It's like when you hear the question that Dr. Newton posed, you have to ask yourself, let's, again, we're not babies here. The question isn't pertaining to artwork or that type of thing. It's more about the darker stuff, like whatever, murder, assault, rape, etc. Things like that where, but we understand it, we don't judge, or whatever the heck the narrative is. Come on. Again, everything that is normalized down here is insane. Alright? And again, we're supposed to be the crazy ones out here. We're the crazy ones. When everything that is insane has been normalized, and over and over and over, lifetime after lifetime, generation after generation, you're born into this type of thing, and everything becomes normalized because you're so used to it. Well, that doesn't fly. That doesn't fly for people who look at this stuff with a rational view and say, okay, nothing adds up. Everything goes against what should be right. You know, everyone should be doing what's right for the sake of doing what's right. Being kind for the sake of being kind. Not normalizing war. Not normalizing complete insanity and lack of caring for one another. And the end war, war, famine, all this crap that's put in our foods. I mean, we can go on and on and on about it. It's just, everything is normalized. As I've said in the past, Earth is like a giant case of Stockholm Syndrome on steroids. Because everyone has become so used to the insanity that it's just like another day. You wake up and you say, oh, well, okay, there's a little bombing over here, there's a war over here, there's, a poor guy or a woman starving over here, and this and that. I mean, and the people are losing their houses, 10 at a time for a dime, and can't afford to take care of their children or themselves nonetheless. And everything's just normalized. Oh, okay, well, the monetary system is all we got. That's all we can do. That's the best we got. And it becomes normal. The suffering and insanity becomes normal. Because not only do you grow up with it, but you start to experience it, and you kind of poo-poo it away. You put it to the side and you say to yourself, well, okay, well, everyone else is kind of in the same boat I am. I look at the news, I look at this, I look at that. I hear these stories from my friends and loved ones, and, their stories don't seem so hot. They're seeing a lot of the same thing I am. Well, let's just chalk it up. The world's like this, and that's what we got to deal with. No. Those days are over. With me. And I know with a lot of you. The days of normalizing this crap is over. Let's call this place out for what it is and stop sugarcoating all this bullshit. It's enough.
So, what did I do? I ran around the Amsterdam canals a lot at night and got caught up in the fun and games.
Oh, the fun and
My
games of
original
Amsterdam.
purpose was pushed aside. Dr. N, if you admit all this to the group, what kind of feedback do you get? For example, how do you and Norcross regard each other? Subject. Norcross often points out I hate to take responsibility for myself and others. With Norcross, it's wealth. He loves power.
Guilt trips.
But we are both selfish. Except that I am more vain. Neither of us gets many gold stars. Dr. N.
Gold stars.
How does Dubry fit into your group with his faults? Subject. He enjoys controlling others by leadership. He is a natural leader, more than the rest of us. He was a sea captain, a pirate, one tough individual. You wouldn't want to cross him. Dr. N. Was he cruel? Subject. No, just hard. He was respected as a captain. Dubry was merciless against his opponents in sea battles, but he took care of his own men. Dr. N. You have told me that Velo assisted people who were in need on the road, but you haven't said much about the positive side of your lives. Is anyone in your group given any gold stars for unselfish acts? Subject. Intently. There is something else about Dubry. Dr. N. What is that? Subject. He did one outstanding thing. Once, during heavy seas, a sailor fell off the mast into the ocean and was drowning. Dubry tied a line around his waist and dove off the deck. He risked his life and saved his shipmate.
Oh.
Dr. N,
Ooh.
when this incident is discussed in your group, how do you all respond to Dubry?
Nice.
Subject: we praise him for what he did with admiration in our minds. We came to the same conclusion that none of us could match this single act of courage in our last lives.
Oh, so immediately you are, the group is lessened because, they didn't risk their lives and do this or do that. They didn't throw the rope and jump into the water, whatever the hell's going on, where, nothing can compare to the great Dubray or whatever the hell the name is.
Dr. N, I see. Yet Velo's life at the inn,
Milo.
feeding and housing people who could not pay him, may represent acts of unselfishness for a longer term and therefore is more praiseworthy? Subject: granted, and we give him that. Laughs. He gets more gold stars than Dubry. Dr. N.
And again, what's with the gold stars? I don't know about you guys, but I remember in kindergarten, and even maybe like the first through third grade, we had the stupid gold stars. I don't know about you guys, but I remember it clear as day. They had these big boards with all of the names of the students written like on a big whiteboard or chalkboard. And then if you did something good, you would get a gold star. Or if you did whatever the hell the teacher wanted you to do, you would get the gold star. It's the same damn concept going on up there. Okay, well, if you're indoctrinated enough and you do well enough, then you get the gold star. If you do heroic acts in this case, then you get the gold star. And no one in the group can compare. See how there's this hierarchy and I'm better than you thing going on? It's pretty clear to me. I don't know about you.
Do you get any strokes from the group for your last life? Subject: pause. I had to scramble for patrons to survive as a painter. But I was good to people. It wasn't much. I enjoyed giving pleasure. My group recognizes I had a good heart. Every one of my clients has special attachments to their soul group, regardless of character makeup. People tend to think of souls in the free state as being without human deficiencies. Actually, I think there are many similarities between groups of souls close to each other and human family systems.
I agree.
For instance, I see Norcross as the rebellious scapegoat for this group of souls, while he and Alum are the inventory takers for everyone's shortcomings.
Oh.
Alum said Norcross is usually the first to openly scrutinize any rationalizations or self-serving justifications of past life failures offered by the other members. He appears to have the least self-doubt and emotional investment over standards of conduct. This may define his own insecurity, because Norcross is probably fighting the hardest to keep up with the advancing group. I suspect Alum himself could be the group's mascot, often the youngest child in human families, with all his clowning around, preening, and making light of serious issues. Some souls in spiritual groups do seem to me to be more fragile and protected than other group members. Velo's conduct demonstrates he is the current hero, or eldest family member, with his drive for excellence.
And kind of another thing just to add really quickly that you'll see in near-death experiences. I brought this up in the comments section, and I've even discussed it in some of my previous videos about how you'll hear this narrative of people who have these near-death experiences, and they feel as if they are walking into a stadium of sorts. And when they walk into the stadium, they have this whole host of people cheering them on, egging them on, giving them all this love and encouragement. And most of the time it leads to a 360-degree view of the life review. So, but in the background, chirping is a group of entities, some of which you know very well, some which you feel familiar with, who are, basically egging you on and giving you encouragement. So what does that do? It strokes the ego. It gives you the boost you need to get through that. And, maybe forget about the insanity that went on down here. Just saying.
I have the impression from Alum that Velo is the least defiant of the group, partly because he has the best record of achievement in recent past lives. Just as in human family systems, the role of spiritual group members can be switched around. But I was told Velo's kinetic energy is turning pink, signaling his growth into level 2. I attach human labels on ethereal spirits, because after all, souls who come to Earth do show themselves through human characteristics. However, I don't see hatred, suspicion, and disrespect in soul groups. In a climate of compassion, there are no power struggles for control among these peer groups, whose members are unable to manipulate each other or keep secrets. Souls distrust themselves, not each other. I do see fortitude, desire, and the will to keep trying in their new physical lives. In an effort to confirm some of my observations about the social dynamics among spiritual group members in this case, I ask Alum a few more questions.
Alright, so they distrust themselves. Is that all knowing to you? Again, with the near-death experiences and some of these things, they claim that they're all knowing. A lot of them do. And that they're on this mission, yada yada yada. Does that sound right? Does that kind of match up, that they distrust their own instincts? Does that seem like they really know what's going on if they don't even trust themselves up in the astral realm, where apparently they're supposed to be able to tap into everything and be all-knowing? No, it doesn't add up.
Dr. N. Alum, do you believe your criticism of each other is always constructive? Subject. Sure. There is no real hostility. We have fun at each other's expense, I admit that. But it's just a form of acknowledgement of who we really are and where we should be going.
Sure. Where
Dr.
should
N,
you be going?
Is any member of your soul group ever made to feel shame or guilt about a past life? Subject. Those are human weapons and too narrow for what we feel.
Human weapons and too narrow.
Dr. N. Well, let me approach your feelings as a soul in another way. Do you feel safer getting feedback from one of your group members more than another? Subject. No, I don't. We all respect each other immensely. The greatest criticism comes from within ourselves. Dr. N. Do you have any regrets for your conduct in any past life? Subject. Long pause. Yes. I feel sorry if I've hurt someone, and then have everyone here know all about my mistakes. But we learn. Dr. N. And what do you do about this knowledge? Subject. Talk among ourselves, and try to make amends the next time. Dr. N. From what you told me earlier, I had the idea that you, Norcross, and Dubry might be releasing some pent-up feelings over your own shortcomings by dumping on each other. Subject, thoughtfully. We make cynical remarks, but it's not like being human anymore. Without our bodies, we take criticism a little differently. We see each other for who we are without resentment or jealousy. Dr. N. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I just wondered if all this flamboyance exhibited by your group might indicate underlying feelings of unworthiness. Subject.
Good question.
Oh, that's something else again. Yes, we do get discouraged as souls and feel unworthy about our abilities to meet the confidence placed in us to improve. Dr. N. So while you have self-doubts about yourselves, it's okay to make cynical remarks about each other's motivations? Subject. Of course. But we want to be recognized by one another for being sincere in working on our individual programs. Sometimes self-pride gets in the way and we use each other to move past this. In the next passage of dialogue, I introduce another spiritual phenomenon relating to group healing. I have heard a number of variations about this activity, which are supported by the interpretations of Case 22. Dr. N. Now, Alum, as long as we are discussing how your group members relate to each other, I want you to describe the spiritual energy by which you are all assisted in this process. Subject, hesitant. I'm not sure I can tell you.
Oh.
Dr. N.
Why not?
Think carefully. Isn't there another means by which your group is brought into harmony with each other within...
Alright, let's just rewind that. Why can't we be told?
Dr. N. Now, Alum, as long as we are discussing how your group members relate to each other, I want you to describe the spiritual energy by which you are all assisted in this process. Subject, hesitant. I'm not sure I can tell you. Dr. N. Think carefully. Isn't there another means by which your group is brought into harmony with each other with intelligent energy? Subject, long pause. Ah. You mean from the cones. Dr. N. The word cone is new to me, but I know I'm on the right track. Yes, the cones. Explain what you know about them relative to your group. Subject, slowly.
The honeycomb.
Well, the cones do assist us. Dr. N. Please continue, and tell me what the cone does. I think I have heard about this before, but I want your version. Subject. It's shaped to go around us, you know. Dr. N. Shaped in what way? Try to be more explicit.
And if you've watched the movie Soul, what does it look like on their soul body? It looks like a honeycomb. They have personality traits that are put on them, and it's in the shape of a honeycomb.
Subject. It is cylindrical, very bright. It is above and all around us. The cone is small at the top and wide at the bottom, so it fits over all of us, like getting under a great white cap. We can float under the cone in order to use it. Dr. N. Are you sure this isn't the shower of healing you experienced right after your return to the spirit world? Subject. Oh no, that was more individual purification, to repair earth damage. I thought you knew. Dr. N. I do. I want you to explain how the cone is different from the shower of healing. Subject. The top funnels energy down as a waterfall in a spreading circle around all of us, and allows us to really concentrate on our mental sameness as a group. Dr. N. And what do you feel when you are under the cone? Subject. We can feel all our thoughts being expanded, then drawn up and returned back, with more knowledge added. Dr. N. Does this intelligent energy help your unity as a group in terms of more focused thinking? Subject. Yes, it does. Dr. N. Deliberately confrontational. To be frank with you, Alum, I wonder if this cone is brainwashing your original thoughts.
Good.
After all, the arguments and disagreements between you and the others of your group are what make you individuals. Subject. Laughs. We aren't brainwashed. Don't you know anything about the afterlife? It gives us more collective insight to work together.
Alright, again, it's collective. Collective. You're working as a hive mind within your soul group to manipulate and deceive and guide each other in a certain direction, both out there and down here.
Dr. N. Is the cone always available? Subject. It is there when we need it. Dr. N. Who operates the cone? Subject. Those who watch over us. Dr. N. Your guide? Subject bursts out laughing. Shadow? I think he is too busy traveling around on his circuit. Dr. N. What do you mean? Subject. We think of him as a circus master, a stage manager of our group.
A circus manager, a stage master. Let's hear that one more time.
Dr. N. What do you mean? Subject. We think of him as a circus master, a stage manager of our group. Dr. N. Does Shato take an active part in your group deliberations? Subject shakes head. Not really. Guides are above a lot of this stuff. We are left on our own quite a bit, and
That's right. They need to knock you down a peg or two, right? You don't deserve to be up on their level. You better follow the orders, and that's the way it goes. You don't deserve to be sovereign and free. No, you need to be more worried about karma and sinning and this and that. And then all of a sudden it seems to just, think about the absurdity, because everything you're taught is that, you're going to be judged, you're going to be this, you're going to be that, you're going to go through the life review, all this craziness, and then all of a sudden you end up in this group, you end up back in this soul group, and they're tugging at the little puppet strings as a group, and you're answering to a hierarchy that is kind of guiding you and telling you where to go. It's absolutely ridiculous. So throw karma, throw sinning, all that crap out the door, because all you will see, left and right, up and down, is contradiction after contradiction after contradiction in all this stuff. All right? But the key thing is being able to decipher the contradictions and know that they're happening. Because what's going on down here? We're being manipulated, we're being deceived, we're being messed with constantly. All right? We're trying to be pushed in certain directions every single day of our lives, from the moment we are born to the day that we die. And unless you figure it out at some point, that's like pretty much the narrative and way that things work down here, you're screwed. So get all that other crap out of your head about karma and answering to this one or that one, and that you've got to carry this burden with you and this and that, because everything that you hear is a contradiction. It's not all lies. It's not all lies. The systems set in place down here to make you feel guilty are there for a reason. They're not there to advance your spiritual progression and make you one with the universe and everything's love and light. No, none of it is set in place to give you that. It's all there to get you to bow down and fall for the bullshit, and then you just conveniently get your memories wiped and and you forget everything. You see how there's actually there's more than two, but you see the main two things that are going on here that divide everything. It's clear as day to see. I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, don't let this opportunity pass you by to learn this material. It is so important to see both sides of the coins. Of the coin. The coins. Well, there's a lot of coins.
Fine. Dr. N, do you think there is one specific reason for the absences of Shato? Subject. Pause. Oh, he probably gets bored with our lack of progress. He loves to show off as the master of ceremonies, though. Dr. N, in what way? Subject. Chuckling. Oh, to suddenly appear in front of us during one of our heated debates, throwing off blue sparks, looking like a wizard who is an all-powerful moderator. Dr. N.
A wizard who is an all-powerful moderator.
Subject, still laughing. A shadow appears in long sapphire blue robes with a tall pointed hat.
Again, blue robes with a tall pointed hat. The position of power, yet again, being pushed down upon the little minions out there who are not worthy of ascending and taking care of themselves and doing what they need to do, or doing what they want to do. It's all methods of control.
With his flowing white beard, he looks simply great, and we do admire him. Dr. N, I get the picture of a spiritual Merlin. Subject, an Oriental Merlin, if you will. Very inscrutable sometimes. He loves making a grand entrance in full costume, especially when we are about to choose another life. He knows how much we appreciate his act. Dr. N. With all this stage management, I am curious if Shato has much emotional connection to your group as a serious guide. Subject, scoffing at me. Listen, he knows we are a wild bunch, and he plays to that as a nonconformist himself. But he is also very wise. Dr. N. Is Shato indulgent with your group? He doesn't seem to limit your extravagance very much. Subject. Shato gets results from us because he is not heavy-handed or preachy. That wouldn't sit well with our people. We respect him. Dr. N. Do you see Shato as a consultant who comes only once in a while to observe, or as an active supervisor? Subject. He will pop in unannounced to set up a problem for our discussions. Then he leaves, coming back later to listen to how we might solve certain things.
Set up a problem.
Dr. N. Give me an example of a major problem with your group. Subject. Pause. Shato knows we identify too much as actors playing parts on Earth.
Actors.
He hits on superficiality. He is trying to get us to cast ourselves from the inside out, rather than the reverse. Dr. N. So Shato's instruction is serious, but he knows you all like to have fun along the way? Subject. Yeah, that's why Shato is with us, I think. He knows we waste opportunities. He assists us in interpreting the predicaments we get into in order to get the best out of us. Dr. N. From what you have told me, I have the impression that your spiritual group is run as a kind of workshop directed by your guide. Subject. Yes. He builds up our morale and keeps us going.
It's a learning experience, a quote-unquote learning experience of love and light down here, and it's a learning experience in a classroom up there. Just it's the same thing over and over, and the only way to get out is to learn your way out.
Unlike educational classrooms or therapy groups on Earth, I have learned teacher counselors in the spirit world are not confined as group activity leaders on a continuous basis. Although Shato and his students are a colorful family of souls, there is much here that is typical of all cluster groups. A guide's leadership is more parental than dictatorial. In this case, Shato is a directive counselor while not being possessive, nor does he pose a threat to the group. There is a warm acceptance of these young souls by this empathic guide, who seems to cater to their masculine inclinations. I will close this case with a few final questions about the group as a spiritual unit.
Is it just me, or does everything he just said seem to go against what he just said? I mean, it falls back again into... none of it, I mean, it lines up with what's going on down here in so many ways. And we're led to believe that it's not going on up there, and that there's some, grand explanation for it that's of a noble purpose. I don't think so.
Dr. N. Why is your group so male-oriented on Earth? Subject. Earth is an action planet which rewards physical exertion. We are inclined to male roles so we can grab hold and mold events.
And what does that do? That exerts energy, right? We exert energy, and there is a reward for that, at least according to the soul group. And what have we learned about Earth? Earth is what have we learned about our bodies, I should say, about us, our existence? It's all about energy extraction, aka loosh, as coined by Robert Monroe and his trilogy of books. Lines right up. It's the way I see it.
Oriented on Earth. I will close this case with a few final questions about the group as a spiritual unit. Dr. N. Why is your group so male-oriented on Earth? Subject. Earth is an action planet which rewards physical exertion.
Rewards.
We are inclined to male roles so we can grab hold and mold events, to dominate our surroundings, to be recognized.
Dominate our surroundings and be recognized. Sounds like a lot of ego trip going on right there. Doesn't seem like much of a school lesson. It seems like, you exert energy and you feed the ego, you get rewarded. What do these corporate clowns and these government clowns get? They get rewarded for doing just that.
Dr. N, women are also influential in society. How can your group hope to progress without more experience in female roles? Subject: we know this, but we have such a fierce desire to be independent. In fact, we often expend too much energy for too little return. But the female aspects don't interest us as much right now. Dr. N, if you have no female counterparts in your immediate group, where do you go for those entities to complement your lives on Earth? Subject: nearby there are some who relate better to female roles. I get along with Josie. She has been with me in some of my lives. Trinian is attached to Nyala. And there are others. Dr. N, Alam, I would like to end our conversation about your spiritual associations by asking you what you know about the origin of your group. Subject: long pause. I can't tell you. We just came together at one time. Dr. N, well, someone had to bring those of you with the same attributes together. Do you think it was God? Subject: puzzled. No. Below the source. The higher ones.
Below the source, the higher ones. One more time.
Came together at one time. Dr. N, well, someone had to bring those of you with the same attributes together. Do you think it was God? Subject: puzzled. No. Below the source. The higher ones. Dr. N, Shato or other guides like him? Subject: no, higher. I think. The planners.
The planners. The planners.
I don't know anymore. Dr. N.
See, I don't know anymore. They don't even know. They have no clue. They're blocked off from this knowledge. The key knowledge, the important knowledge that we all should know. We should be able to tap into this. And where is it leaving us? It's leaving us at a dead end and just spinning our circles. I mean, they have no clue what's going on. They're frustrated. They're almost defensive and confused, and mixing up what they're saying. It's very, very off-putting, and it should scream deception and manipulation.
A while back, you told me some of your old friends were reducing their active participation in your group due to their development. Do you ever get new members? Subject: never.
Never.
Dr. N, is this because a new member might have trouble assimilating with the rest of you? Subject laughs. We aren't that bad. It's just we are too closely connected by thought for an outsider, and they would not have shared our past experiences.
Alright, so you see how there's that segregation going on, and we've seen a ton of examples of this so far. You're in this group, and you're only allowed to go outside of this group in very, very small ways. And whether they it seems like they make you feel special and this and that to be part of this group. And along the way, interactions outside of said group is pretty much, from what I gather, forbidden. Or if it isn't, it's got to be on a similar wavelength as to the group that you're involved with. And there's a lot to suggest that that's exactly what's going on. That there's almost like to what's going on these days with the whole quarantine thing. It seems to be going on up there. Even though there's this perceived freedom going on, it's all based in manipulation and deception yet again.
Dr. N, during your discussions about these past lives together, does your group believe it contributes to the betterment of human society? Subject, pause. We want our presence in a community to challenge conventions, to question basic assumptions. I think we bring nerve into our physical lives.
Nerve.
And laughter, too. Dr. N, and when your spiritual group has finished discussing what is necessary to further your aims, do you look forward to a new life? Subject, zestfully.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
Exactly,
Every time I leave for a new role on Earth, I say goodbye with, see you all back here, AD, after death.
Yay, sounds awesome, yay.
This case is an example of like-minded souls with ego-inflating needs who support and validate each other's feelings and attitudes.
Whoa, that's a truth bomb right there. Ego-inflating attitudes, feeding off each other and helping each other to fulfill those ego needs and pathways.
Herein lies the key to understanding the formation of soul groups. I have learned that many spiritual clusters have subgroups made up of entities whose identities are linked by similar issues, blocking their advancement. Even so, these souls do have differences in strengths and weaknesses. Each group member contributes their best attributes toward advancing the goals of others in the family. I do not want to leave the impression from Case 21 that the few remaining souls in this inner circle of close friends represent the behavior traits of everyone in the original cluster. When a primary group of, say, 15 or 20 souls is formed, there are marked similarities in talent and interests. But a support group is also designed to have differences in disposition, feelings, and reactions. Typically, my subjects report a male-female-oriented mixture of one or more of the following character types in their groups. 1. Courageous, resilient, a tenacious survivor. 2. Gentle, quiet, devoted, and rather innocent. 3. Fun-loving, humorous, a jokester and risk-taker. 4. Serious, dependable, cautious. 5. Flamboyant, enthusiastic, frank. 6. Patient, steady, perceptive. 7. Thoughtful, calculating, determined. 8. Innovative, resourceful, adaptable. These differences give a group balance. However, if an entire group displays a strong tendency toward flamboyance or daring, the most cautious member would appear less so to another group of souls. There is no question that the souls in Case 21 are in for a long development period, yet they do contribute to the vitality of Earth. Subsequent questioning of this subject revealed the paths of these souls continue to cross in the 20th century. For instance, Alum is a graphic designer and part-time professional guitar player, involved with Josie, who is a singer. The fact that the closely knit souls in this case were so male-oriented in their physical lives does not take away from their ability to associate with young souls with predominantly female preferences. Cluster groups are gender mixed. As I have mentioned, truly advanced souls have balanced gender preferences in their physical life choices. The desire for expression of self-identity is an important motivating factor for souls choosing to come to Earth to learn practical lessons. Sometimes a reason for discomfort with the lower-level soul is the discrepancy in perception of self in their free soul state compared to how they act in human bodies. Souls can get confused with who they are in life. Case 21 did not seem to exhibit any conflict in this area, but I question the rate of growth achieved by Alum in recent past lives. However, the basic experience of living a life may compensate to some extent for the lack of insight gained from that life. Our shortcomings and moral conflicts are recognized as faults far more in the spirit world than on Earth. We have seen how the nuances of decision-making are dissected and analyzed in spiritual groups. Cluster members have worked together for such a long time in Earth years that entities become accountable to each other and the group as a whole. This fosters a great sense of belonging in all spiritual groups, and can give the appearance of thought barriers between clusters, especially with souls in the lower levels. Nevertheless, while rejection and loneliness is part of every soul's life in human form, in the spirit world our individual ego identity is constantly enhanced by warm peer group socialization. The social structure of soul groups is not the same as groups of people on Earth. Although there is some evidence of paired friendships, I don't hear about cliques, stars of attraction, or isolated souls within clusters. I am told souls do spend time alone in the silence of personal reflection when attached to a group. Souls are intimate entities in their family relationships on Earth, and engagement in group community life in the spirit world. And yet, souls do learn much from solitude. I understand from my white light subjects that souls at the beginning levels are frequently separated from their groups to individually work on simple energy projects. One rather young soul recalled being alone in an enclosure, trying to put together a moving puzzle of dissembled geometric shapes of cylinders, spheres, cubes, and squares with self-produced energy.
All right,
it was described as being multi-dimensional, colorful, and holographic.
All right, so again, here we go. We're talking about the Hollowverse. There's a truth bomb. There's a lot of truth bombs that we're just talking. We're talking about geometric patterns, and we're talking about a Hollowverse, because that's what we live in. We live in a Hollowverse. Our bodies. This is the way I perceive it. Our bodies are the avatar, the mechanism to create the material world around us. Think of it as a rendering tool. Our bodies act as a renderer. So as we walk around, it's a very high-tech rendering avatar, but we're able to experience this material world based on our how do I put this? Us being shoved in the body, like we're trapped, just like the whole topic. Like our entire existence is trapped into this avatar. Okay, it is what it is. We have to just accept that. And the body renders the experience around us and creates the illusion of the material world. And that, in my opinion, has been proven 10 times over. I don't even think that, in my opinion, it's not even up for debate. People who question it, that's perfectly understandable because it sounds batshit insane. My suggestion would be to further further look into holographic universe, or multiverse, Hollowverse, how it relates to us having this experience. Because the other thing you'll see in these near-death experiences and out-of-body experiences is that there is a whole host of realms that represent themselves just as what we see down here, but they're a little different. But they're a good representation of what's going on down here and how it relates up there. If I'm saying that correctly, hopefully it makes sense. But I would suggest that everyone here take a look at, and this is the very, very rare moments when I will suggest taking a look at anything related to the CIA. There is a paper. It's 29 pages. And it's not even just this paper, because it goes way beyond it. And when you're looking at other things, there's a paper called The Gateway Experience, and it's 20. You could find it in the reading room of the CIA. And what it talks about, and it even shows a cube over our head, and it explains not just how we have this physical experience and describe it in great detail, but it also talks about the Monroe Institute and how the audio files that they put out and the classes and lectures that they give, how they work, how, like, basically the CIA was asking, like, okay, it seems like there's a lot of success going on here with this particular Monroe Institute. How does it work, etc., etc.? And it breaks it down. So it is a cornucopia of information that you can look at and say, wow, that really explains a lot. But that's just one example. One. So you can, if you want, you can throw that document outside the window and say, okay, forget it, because there's many other scientists, and we all know that many are bought and paid for, but there's a lot of information that has come to pass since about 2005 that really paint a clear picture that we are in a holographic universe, holoverse. I won't say multiverse because I can't really speak for what's outside of here. I'm talking about here and the umbrella of the astral realms that are part of the control structure here. So we can get into that in another video down the road, but our bodies basically render the experience around us as we walk around, and once they cease to exist, that experience obviously goes away. So, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to go too much on a tangent on that, but that's the best way to put it. Or the best way that I can put it, personally, is that we have these bodies, these avatars, and they render the experience around us just like, how you can switch quality on a video you're watching. What you can do is you can switch from 240p to 360p to 480p to 780 to or 720 to 180, 1080, etc. in the 4K, and the quality gets better and better. Except our avatars provide a pretty consistent rendering of our experience around us. I will. Give me a moment. What I'll do is I'll get the document and I'll link it. I do have it. So let's continue on with this. And once this case ends, we're going to wrap it up. But I will make sure that I get that document out to you guys. It's a must read. It's one of the probably the best document they've ever put out, and you will never probably hear me ever suggest anything by them again. So just let me continue and I'll dig that up for you guys. One moment.
Nature. He said, we have to learn to intensify our energy to bring the diffused and jumbled into focus, to give it some kind of basic shape. Another subject added, these tests give the watchers information about our imagination, creativity, and ingenuity, and they offer us encouragement rather than being judgmental. Souls on all levels engage in another important activity when they are alone. They are expected to spend time mentally concentrating on helping those on Earth, or other physical worlds, whom they have known and cared about. From what I can gather, they go to a space some call the place of protection. Here they enter an interdimensional field of floating silvery blue energy, and project outward to geographical areas of their choosing. I am told this is a mental exercise in holding and releasing positive vibrational energy to create a territory. This means souls ride on their thought waves to specific people, buildings, or a given area of land in an attempt to comfort or effect change. 10. The intermediate soul. Once our souls advance past level 2 into the intermediate ranges of development, group cluster activity is considerably reduced. This does not mean we return to the kind of isolation we saw with the novice soul. Souls evolving into the middle development levels have less association with primary groups because they have acquired the maturity and experience for operating more independently. These souls are also reducing the number of their incarnations. Within levels 3 and 4, we are at last ready for more serious responsibilities. The relationship we have with our guides now changes from teacher-student to one of colleagues working together. Since our old guides have acquired new student groups, it is now our turn to develop teaching skills which will eventually qualify us for the responsibilities of being a guide to someone else. I have said the transitional stages of levels 2 and 4 are particularly difficult for me in pinpointing a soul's development. For instance, some level 4 souls begin targeting themselves toward primary cluster teacher training while still in level 3, while other subjects who are clearly level 4s find they are unsuited to be effective guides. Despite their high standards of morality and conduct, entities who have reached the intermediate levels of maturity are modest about their achievements. Naturally, each case is different, but I notice more composure with clients in this stage and above. I see trust rather than suspicion toward the motives of others on both a conscious and subconscious level. These people demonstrate a forward-looking attitude of faith and confidence for the future of humanity, which encourages those around them. My questions to the more mature soul are directed to esoteric ideas of purpose and creation. I admit to taking advantage of the higher knowledge possessed by these souls for the sort of spiritual information others lack. There have been clients who have told me they felt I pushed them rather hard in drawing out their spiritual memories, and I know they are right. The more advanced souls of this world possess remarkable comprehension of a universal life plan. I want to learn as much as possible from them. My next case falls into the upper portion of level 3 development, radiating a yellow energy devoid of any reddish tones. This client was a small, nondescript man, nearly 50 years old. His demeanor was quietly courteous towards me when we met, and I thought him a trifle solemn. I felt his unassuming detachment was somewhat studied, almost as a cover for stronger emotions. The most striking feature about him was his dark, morose eyes, which grew more intense as he began to talk about himself in a direct and persuasive manner. He told me he worked for a charitable organization dispensing food to the homeless, and that he had once been a journalist. This client had traveled quite some distance to discuss with me his concern over a decline in enthusiasm for his work. He said he was tired and wanted to spend the rest of his life quietly alone. His first session involved a review of the highlights of many past lives, so we could better evaluate a proper course for the remainder of his current life. I began by regressing the subject rapidly through a series of early lives, starting from his first life as a Cro-Magnon man in a Stone Age culture some 30,000 years ago. As we moved forward in time, I noted a consistency of lone wolf behavior patterns as opposed to normal tribal integration. From about 3000 BC to 500 BC, my client lived a number of lives in the Middle East, during the rise of the early city-states in Sumerian, Babylonian, and Egyptian cultures. Nevertheless, even in lives as a woman, this subject often avoided family ties, including having no children. As a man, he showed a preference for nomadism. By the time we reached a life in Europe during the Dark Ages, I was becoming accustomed to a rebellious soul resisting tyrannical societies. During his lives, my subject worked to uplift people from fear, while remaining non-aligned to opposing factions. Suffering hardships and many setbacks, he continued as a wanderer, with an obsession for freedom of movement. Some lives were not too productive, but during the 12th century, I found him in Central America in the body of an Aztec, organizing a band of Indians against the oppressions of a high priest. He was killed in this setting as a virtual outcast, while promoting nonviolent relations between tribes who were traditional enemies. In the 14th century, this soul was a European chronicler, traveling the Silk Road to Carthage to gain understanding of the peoples of Asia. Always facile with languages, as he is today, my client died in Asia as an old man, happily living in a peasant village. In Japan, at the beginning of the 17th century, he was a member of the clan of the Bleeding Crane. These men were respected, independent samurai mercenaries. At the end of this life, my subject was living in seclusion from the ruling Tokugawa shoguns, because he had advised their weaker opponents on battle strategy. Frequently the outsider, always an explorer searching for truth across many lands, this soul continued to seek a rational meaning to life while giving aid to those he met along the way. I was surprised when he popped up as the wife of an American farmer on the frontier in the 19th century. The farmer died soon after their marriage. I learned my subject had deliberately incarnated to be a widow with children, tied to a piece of property, as an exercise in the loss of mobility. When this part of his session ended, I knew I was working with a more advanced, older soul, even though he had a great many lives we did not review. Since this soul is approaching level 4, I would not have been surprised if his first appearance on Earth had gone back 70,000 years rather than half that amount of time. However, as I have mentioned, it is not an absolute prerequisite that souls have hundreds of physical lives in order to advance. I once had a client who entered into a level 3 state of awareness after only 4,000 years. An outstanding performance. I talked to my client about his current life and his customary methods of learning in previous lives. He explained he had never been married, and that social non-alignments worked best for him. I suggested a few alternatives for his consideration. Primarily, I felt his lack of intimacy with people in too many lives was obstructing his progress. When this session ended, he was anxious that we explore his mind further for perceptions about the spirit world in another session. Upon his arrival the next day, I placed him in a superconscious state, and we went back to work. Case 22.
Okay.
Dr. N. By what name?
Okay, so I am going to leave tonight's show at that. So we will pick up on 22 when we revisit. Let me just mark this here. Okay. Alright, and I will work also on getting timestamps up sometime tomorrow. And what we'll do is we'll pick up on the rest of it this coming weekend. Possibly tomorrow, if not definitely by Saturday. For anyone who is new or anyone who hasn't checked out Odyssey, I highly recommend it. It's a video streaming site. I am going to be doing exclusive live streams over there, and even at least a few, once I get it figured out how the live streams work and make sure the quality is okay over there, I do plan on doing part of this series over there, because I think it's important that we are using other platforms. I'm not relying on this one 100%. I've seen many close people to me lose their accounts and this and that. And although I am kind of going in this different direction recently and not covering the more sensitive topics, this is one that really should be the king of all sensitive topics. But it, I don't know, so I just suggest checking out Odyssey. I really do. I think it's the future, at least from what I can tell. Like, I've always made it a point not to push this or push that. The only thing I've really pushed are my backup channels and my Twitter, just so we have a way to communicate and stay in touch. Oh yeah, it just popped up in the Streamlabs. I'll pop it up one more time here. If you use this link for Odyssey, if you check it out and you like what you see, if you use it, you'll get some free crypto. It's library crypto. It comes with using that link. And what it also does is it helps get my videos over on their platform a little more. It gets into more people's feeds. It's basically a form of free advertising over there. It doesn't cost anything. So if you want, check it out, see if you like it. Sign up. If you use that link, it helps me, it helps you. and it helps promote the channel in a way on another platform, and there is no censorship from everything I can tell. Now, could that change down the road? Of course. But so far it seems like the way they have it set up is that it really shouldn't be that way. But, I don't trust anything. So, make of it what you will. As of right now, I waited a few years before I even started talking about Odyssey because I wanted to see a library and see how it all panned out. And it seems like they're really putting in an effort to allow people like us a voice with zero restrictions over there. So, again, feel free to check it out. I also have a Twitter, 2 YouTube backup channels if you're new. Feel free to sub and bell them both. I don't even post anything on those channels. They're strictly there as a backup as of now, and will remain that way until I'm required to use them, and hopefully that day will never come, but I still want to have the option there just in case. And if you enjoyed this video and gain something from it, feel free to hit the like button if you'd like, and share it with your fellow brothers and sisters who are kind of in the know about something, being wrong here. And I also am trying to encourage everyone here to do their own videos, their own blogs, their own Facebook posts, their own Twitter posts, yada yada yada, about what they feel is going on. I just think the most important thing that we can do is make sure everything is rooted in sovereignty and withdrawing consent from this entire place. I think if it's anything but that, you're doing a disservice to others. That's my opinion. Okay, but I can't tell you how many channels I've run across that cover this topic, that will say, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to be at this angle, you need to do this and that and this and that, on and on and on, telling you what to do. And that's where I draw the line. I have a problem with that. And I'm not going to push material or people on this channel who are telling others what to do, because that goes against everything I personally stand for. And I'm not some high and almighty thing. If I was some high and almighty leader or this or that, I would be saying, okay, well, you're going to go in between the net, you're going to go to the golden light, you're going to listen to this guru, you're going to listen to this one, this and that, blah, 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 blah. If they're not preaching sovereignty and liberation, you're not going to hear it from out of my mouth. That's the bottom line about where I stand with all of this. So yeah, I will make suggestions on what I feel are good, well-meaning people who are in an avatar right now, who are leading you in that direction. But I'm not gonna I will never lead you to a direction where someone is telling you what to do or where to go, if it doesn't involve liberation and sovereignty. Because there's a ton of them out there, ton of channels that cover this topic, but you've got to go with the aliens, or you got to go with the Palladians, or you got to go with Alibaba, or you got to go with Jesus or Mohammed or Buddha or this that. No, you're never going to hear that here, and I'm never going to openly promote that. Some people may comment that stuff here and in the comment section, but I do not endorse that, and I think that's counterproductive to all of our growths. And again, I'm not some high and mighty person. Everything comes down to you're in the driver's seat. You have to be in the driver's seat. There's no David Icks, there's no Dalai Lamas, there's no groups, there's no gurus, there's none of that. Okay? None of it. if you're listening to David Icke, if you're listening to this one and that one, telling you about the Matrix, the moon matrix, and this and that, yeah, you know what? It might be true that the moon is part of the white light that we see. We have no way of knowing. That's really the bottom line with that one. But if someone is not telling you to take the reins and control for you to be you and assert that sovereignty, then I feel that is misdirection. You can go and risk it, do what you want to do. Everyone has the choice to do and go where they want. But the whole point of this, everything I'm doing here is to make sure that us as individuals have the control. Not anyone or anything. Not Grandpappy Winston, who's going to show up when you die. Not your pet. Not your guru. Not some Dharma book. Not some Bible. Not some Quran. On and on and on. They may help you in your journey, and that's an important thing. It's not like there's no value in these books or these gurus or what have you, but the whole point is that we have to be in the driver's seat, because that's the only way we get out of here. In my opinion, actually it's not even an opinion, it's a knowing. I know it within inside me, and that's it. We're in the driver's seat. Hashtag last timers. Don't let anyone tell you where you should go or what you should do or this or that. You have to know it with every fiber in your being and come from a place but nothing but sovereignty and liberation to completely not just exit the earth realm, but the entire substructure of this entire universe, that holoverse that is here, and proceed out into the multiverse and become independent. And then once we have our time to unwind and know that we're out here, then yeah, let's go explore and do what we want to do and this and that. But remember, the most important thing is once we do get out of here, that we need to have access to like a God mode. So say you wanted to come to a place like Earth. Let's just, God forbid, okay? Let's just say you wanted to have a material type experience again outside of here, outside of its control structure and sub-realms. That's fine, because maybe, we might, I think we got bored. I think that's how we got here. Like, we got bored, we got curious, and we ended up here, and we've probably been here for a long-ass time. And so there's nothing wrong with wanting to go and experience something different and new when we get out of here, but we just need time to make sure that we're completely out of the grips and the grasp of this whole thing. That's really the bottom line. And I just hate to see misdirection that is taking away from people's sovereignty. Because what does this realm do? This realm does that constantly. All it wants to do is steal a piece of you or everything from you and pass it off to something else. Whether it be religion, whether it be science, whether it be your family, whether it be your parents, your loved ones, it doesn't matter what it is. The point is everything is based in a structure that takes you away from you, your sovereignty, your right to choose, your right to deny consent. And we're here for the duration that we're here, and we just have to stomach that. It is what it is. And back to PKOSB. Earlier you said, we were talking about, I'm, being black pilled and something along the lines of, what do we do because everything is against us here? No. you still, enjoy the relationships you have. Enjoy the healing properties that nature provides you. We can't be so black-pilled that we shut off everything. Otherwise, we're living a miserable existence until we die. That's not the way to live, right? I mean, yeah, the point is to be aware that we know what's going on here, that we have the control, and that we can take the bull by the horn, so to say, and do what's right for us when the time comes. But until then, enjoy your relationships. Enjoy the relationships that you love, you enjoy. Be with your family or whoever. Sometimes family isn't an option. Sometimes maybe it's your friends or your partner or what have you. Your pets. Enjoy it. I have a number of relationships I love and enjoy. Some of them are in the Matrix still, and a nice little section of them are not, which is beautiful. I'm lucky in that aspect, and I hope some of you have that opportunity as well. But if you don't, and you still value and enjoy the relationships that you do have, hold on to those, because it's really important. This information, as important as it is, we still have to live day to day. We still have to get by day to day. PK says, I asked who or what can we trust? I don't know anything about Black. But I'm sorry, PK. I think I might have been mixing that up with another comment. I apologize. Sorry for mixing that up. So yeah, you're asking, who or what can we trust? I think I would just throw that out the window, to be honest, because you should be centered and okay with yourself that when the time comes that you'll make the right decision for yourself. Because when we really do boil it all down, no matter how much we have these relationships and value them, the only way out is by us and us alone as individuals. That's why I keep saying no gurus, no Dalai Lamas, no Dharma wheels, no Bibles, no this, no that. They are good tools depending on where you are in your journey to help you progress and get you to the point of realizing the reincarnation soul trap, because it really does require, at least for me, this is strictly, my journey. It took me looking at all sorts of different things to come and, because you really need that worldview and your life experience compounded on top of looking at all of the crazy stuff that you end up figuring out. Okay, I was lied to here, I was lied to there, I was deceived here, endlessly, everything's inverted, blah blah blah. When you start to figure all that stuff out, I mean, it really creates a big picture, because you can't just come in, I mean, at least in my opinion, maybe people can and figure it out, but I don't think you could just come in, flying in, right into the Matrix Reincarnation Soul trap and say, oh, well, that's it. This is truth. I think you really need to combine life experience and looking into all the other things as it pertains to this existence, which include conspiracies in a major way, and then you kind of have that inner knowing that just comes along with it. So I hope I explained that right. I don't know. Burger Boy, good to see you, my friend. Burger Boy. Okay, let's see. So yeah, PK, I hope I'm sorry for mixing that up. I hope I explained it a little better there. Let's see. PK, that your daughter was listening earlier. They're at the same stage. That is a blessing. That really is. You should cherish that relationship. It is. I'm extremely lucky that I have a partner who understands this. I've even gotten my mother on board to some degree on it. I think she still needs some work on it, but she says she sees it too. And I've been, relentlessly, she's open-minded to it. See, the problem, the what's really difficult is when you have close family, friends, partners, etc., who are not receptive at all. Like, I have a very, very close friend of mine, one of my last Matrix friends, who I love and adore. She's just a beautiful, beautiful human being, and I love her to death. And she just, she's the type that right now she's watching the news. She watches the local news, and then she watches the national news every single night. She buys into everything, hook, line, and sinker, follows everything on the Christian path, and it's very difficult. But it is what it is, right? I don't have control, but it's very hard for me because I have so much compassion and empathy and love for her that it's very hard to stomach. So for me, I'm not saying anyone else should do this, but if you have friends like I do in this case, what I did is it was like a natural withdrawal, where we just don't connect. It's very difficult. And it's not like I don't care about her. I just don't call as often as I used to. And I am not, please don't say that, I am not telling anyone that they should be doing this in their own life. I think you need to do whatever's right for you and customize it to your relationships, because everyone has their different relationships and how they handle them when they're at this stage in the game, and figure out that basically everything here leads back to the reincarnation trap, and that how this place runs. It is a very hard thing to deal with when you're dealing with, dare I say it, NPC friends, NPC families, or ones that are so far gone that it doesn't necessarily mean they're even NPCs. It just means that they're fragmented. They've been here so long that they know no different. They buy everything that's fed to them and are okay with that. And there's nothing you can say, nothing you can do that'll ever get through to them. But if you have associations with them that you love and enjoy that time. Go out to dinner, strike up a conversation, go grab a few drinks together, whatever, smoke some bud if you smoke bud, whatever you do to have a good time. But my suggestion would be is if you've tried with them, if you've tried to have these type of conversations on a number of occasions, and they've basically led nowhere, and they just lead back to matrix generated answers, then don't even bring them up. Don't even bring them up. Enjoy the time that you have with them in the moment, and let all that go. It's not easy, but that's the best way to handle it. That's the only way I've handled it. And again, everyone has to do what they need to do for themselves, but that's the best way I've handled it all. So take everything with a grain of salt. Okay. Burger Boy says, well, I just wanted to be good to folks and talk about burgers. Maybe that's simple, but I had a brain thing, and now my thoughts tend toward the minimal. Okay. I like Burger Boy. He traverses other areas of YouTube that I traverse, and we have good laughs together. He's a good buddy. Albie says, "This world is hell. We write sentences, we cast words, we all speak. We say hello to each other when we speak to each other." Yeah, well, you know what the key thing I've kind of come to grips with as far as the English language and the spell casting involved with it. It is what it is, right? I mean, if you look into etymology and the English language and how it's all constructed, you can start to break down almost everything that you say and turn it on its head and look at things from a completely different direction that for some people can make them lose their minds and fall off the deep end. Like I say, a lot of people have called me out for saying much love and blessings or saying blessings in my thing. And I'll say to them, because they'll say, blessings is be less. That's the interpretation of it. And okay, I understand that. But oftentimes what I'll respond to them is I'll say, okay, blessings, the meaning, okay, which in your head you're saying, okay, it's be less, but I'm coming at it and saying it from a place of love, blessings, have a good day, I hope whatever comes forth in the rest of your day, that it is of a positive nature and you are content with wherever it goes and you're okay. All right, that's the way I see it. I'm not gonna. So for the people that say that, you're allowing be less to enter your psyche and impact you. But once you know the power that it used to have subliminally, it doesn't have power anymore. Because I'm telling you, if you went and you broke down the English language word for word and were serious about it, you wouldn't even speak English. You would look at it and you would say, "Oh my Lord, like I'm saying this and it means that. I'm saying this and it means that." You would basically be a mute. So you have to come to a point where, okay, it's the intention that the person is giving me behind the words. Okay, I know that blessings can be interpreted as be less, but since I know what it actually means now, it holds no power over me. It doesn't hold a power over anymore. So it's about the intention given, if you are aware of what the word is conveying, and be cool with it. And if it does bother some of you out there, like on a bigger level, I'll go out of my way to try and remember to not do that if it does bother you. But please know that when I say much love and blessings, it's coming from a place of nothing but love, empathy, compassion for you. Okay, so Albie says, "Forever I've been researching religious books and came to realize the hell that they talk about is this world. The constant recycling of souls, and that the only we're only to be liberated is to be a good slave." Yes, yep, I'm with you on that. That's what I see as well. PK says, "Yes, you are. So many others around me don't want anything to do with it. They act like we're gonna live forever." Yeah, and I talk to people a lot who are more concerned about surviving longer in this body, and my response to that is why when there is so much more beyond this physical body, that we have been shut off and closed from, mostly by our own doing, but with a lot of assistance from exterior forces that have manipulated us. Okay, let's not just simplify it, because it goes way beyond us just consenting. We have been beaten and abused by an overarching hierarchy that has sucked us in, and and those days are over. This lifetime is the last lifetime to put up with that bullshit, okay? Because we're going to take back our sovereignty. Hashtag last timers. And I don't even like the hashtag thing. I always hated hashtags, but I figured if I'm going to use one, I might as well use it on that, right? Some of you seem to like it too. Okay. Sorry, the chat just scrolled by. I'll go through a few more things, and then we're gonna wrap it up. But yeah, it's nice to be able to talk with you guys, because it's like a therapy for me. You know, it's like it's great when we have a nice group of people together where we can all kind of bounce ideas and even our troubles and our loves off one another, and try and make sense of an otherwise crazy world that lacks sense. Yeah, PK says, thanks again, and yes, it sucks when close ones disconnect. Yeah, it's horrible. But there has to come a point where there's just this acceptance that, okay, I appreciate the relationship that I have, and it's cool, you know. Let's see. Abdi says the Matrix controller is steering them one way or another. Remembering the BLM protest last year, I'm from an African background, and I could easily see the lies and deception of it. Yeah, not much we can do about that. There's so many of them out there that you pick it. I mean, even like the Capitol and all that stuff, everything that happened, it's all about the vision, right? I mean, everything, if humanity wasn't so divided and came together, that type of thing wouldn't be allowed, and we would take over our sovereignty and finally stand for what's right. But the brainwashing goes so deep and so far that what can we really do? It is what it is, and there has to come in a reluctant, very reluctant acceptance at some point that it is what it is. Alien Interference in Human Love Relationships by SK. Abdi says, remember Floyd? Okay, I'm not going to say that. Yeah, I know, because of the whole thing that lines up. Yeah, I'm not going to say that. Everyone can scroll up to Abdi's comment about remember last words. That's just a hot button topic that I'm just not looking to discuss, even though I'm in complete agreement. The whole coordination between all that. Burger Boy says, thanks, brother. I'm just walking. I see you walking too, brother. That's right. We're all walking the path. We're all walking the path. That's how we roll. We're all just trying to find answers and make sense of a insane world. PK says, that's what I do. I still hang out with my sisters. 2 have been jabbed. Nothing I can do. They know how I feel. Vice versa. Still have fun. Yeah, that's the way to go. See, there you go. That's everyone. Yeah, PK's comment is right on target. What can we do? It's all good. It's all good. It's not all good, but it's all acceptance. Reluctant acceptance. So, hello, everybody. That didn't work, did it? What happened? Whatever. It's not working. It looks like my camera went out. Okay. Okay, a few more comments, then we'll keep it going, and then we'll call it a night. Where are we at here? 3.5 hours. Good lord. Okay. Krell says, I found it easier to be led astray with good intent. Well, it is, yeah, as long as, the only thing I will add to that is, even though I was talking about earlier about, things resonating, one of the biggest lessons I learned personally was that things that resonate don't always necessarily mean they are true. Good intentions kind of tie into that, but if you know the person personally, you know, you have a relationship and an established relationship, so to say, then you are more apt to be able to detect some bad intent with that. So, but when it comes to something like an online thing with truth, you got to be really careful, because we have people out there who are well versed in hypnotic imagery, hypnotic suggestion, NLP, the whole ASMR thing, and you know, they're actors too. So I guess, you know, I'm just trying to divide them up. So, you know, we're personal relationships that we have versus online relationships or online material that we choose to consume can be portrayed as good intention, but we just have to be a little careful. That's all. Because, hey, we got to protect ourselves, right? But when it comes to personal relationships, everyone should have a really good discernment meter for personal relationships, because you can see their eyes, you can talk to them. You're not just seeing a video of them scripted and presenting themselves as one way. You're seeing them in the flesh. You know, you're in the same area with them. You get a better sense for what they're all about. But even then, you still have the you know, the narcissist type ones and stuff like that. You gotta be careful about. But a good judge of character can spot that stuff pretty quickly. And I would imagine most of you out there have that in spades to get for us to get this far into the soul trap area, right? Simon says, fun injection of positivity there. Yeah, we gotta inject positivity. It's, you know, it's kind of dark stuff we talk about, but at the same time, it's like, again, the truth doesn't care about our feelings. It just is what it is. It's a reluctant acceptance of what is. Deborah says, I try to do the same thing, FC, because I don't know words to replace spellcraft words in situations. Yeah, that's like the biggest problem, right? I mean, for those who've gone deep in etymology, you're going to find that if you really went deep in that stuff and tried to readjust your life based on what you find out, you'd probably lose your mind. Or just try to learn a whole new language completely. And even then, you're under spellcraft. But English is the kingpin of that. Illusion and reality says, I do not believe in spells. Yeah, well, that's good. Yeah, I fight them. I don't believe in them either. But I also recognize that spells were a thing when I was younger, when I wasn't aware of them. And they did hold power over me to some extent. Not like in a massive way, but in a way that it was enough that it manipulated my life, you know, especially growing up, because you don't realize the power that they yield. But when you could check them, and, you know, I just think it was, more or less, particularly when it came to like TV, that's where they really utilize it, because they have the hypnotic imagery, they have the flashing screen, the repetitiveness over and over and over again. So yeah, even though it may not be in the sense of the exact word or spell, it gives off some sort of effect that can manipulate you, especially when you're young and vulnerable. That's kind of my opinion on it, at least. At least looking back at some of the things. BB says, FC, the link you put led me to Quran Reddit page. It should have been, from what I remember, Abdi put a bunch of videos up there. Maybe I misplaced links. What I put up there was based on a link he had sent me. So no, I do not support the Quran in any way. So let's just get that right out in the open. Again, I think all text can be looked at and applied to look at an overall picture, but if there is some sort of Quran agenda being pushed in that link, I do not agree with it, BB. So I apologize. I remember seeing a bunch of great video links on there exposing truth. So again, just use your discernment, but just know that this channel does not support any religion whatsoever, unless there's just like some examples that can be used to prove deception and manipulation as it pertains to this reality. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. There's no Quran up in here. Just to say it again. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, illusion of reality says mind control, not a spell. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you're right on that. I'm with you. Yeah, I get. I mean, but the whole English language is inverted, and by itself. So I mean, that's kind of a spell. I mean, it's mind control, a spell. However you want to look at it. I mean, the English language in itself is completely reversed. Everything is double speak, a double meaning, inverted, absurd, so it'll put you in a spell at some point. But yeah, I mean, the crux of all this is mind control. So yeah, I'm with you 100% on that. PK says, I've heard the English language was weaponized against us. If that's all you know, it would be easy, but we are aware. Yeah. Abdi says, forever it was dissecting the Quran's referencing the soul trap. Okay. Yeah. Okay, well, I honestly, I wasn't sure. BB brought it up, so I only kind of skimmed some of the stuff, and I saw a good chunk of the videos that you posted in your feed, and thought there was a lot of great examples. Some of which I put aside for a future compilation. You got some good examples over there, so excuse me. BB says, don't forget sound creates matter. Yeah. Yeah, we are creator beings, and can manipulate and manifest reality in very minute ways. And some people are capable of even going on the extreme level, but most of that we're not privy to. Simon says, is that why our politicians speak bollocks here in the UK? Yes, yes. I would think that goes worldwide, Simon. BB says, I'm having trouble with the chat. What didn't I read? I'm not sure. Everything should be there. Simon says, master doublespeak. Illusion Realize says, community in chat is very difficult. Personally, I'm not a fan. Yeah, I understand. Abdi says, forever, do you think the controllers of the Matrix are even souls? Well, actually, the actual controllers, the tippity top, no, this is my opinion, because I have no way of knowing. But I do kind of suspect that there is some validity to the creator in a almost, dare I say it, biblical way, that yes, Earth was likely hijacked, and that it might have had something to do with the creator disconnecting a certain group or groups of entities from its area, its other area of the multiverse, and somewhat quarantined it down here. Now, that's just my suspicion. I don't know. I have no way of knowing. It's just something I sit on and say it's a possibility. And that they had possibly come in here and taken over this existence. Or there was some sort of consent agreement with a group of previous human beings that were privy to some, not all, of the rules that go on here. And that was it. But, again, I have no way of proving any of that. So it's just a suspicion. I'm not saying I believe it. I'm not saying I don't believe it. It's just what I suspect is a possibility. So, because otherwise it could be totally misconstrued as something else, and me pushing that or that, and I'm not pushing anything. I'm just saying it's something I suspect as a likely possibility. So, I think I'm going to probably leave it at that for the evening. Where are we at here? Oh, wow, we're at 3:40. Okay. So, yeah, I'm going to wrap things up. I really should have cut it off at the last thing, but I always enjoy talking with you guys. We should, I'm thinking we should maybe do like a bi-weekly or once a month thing where we kind of just have an open chat and just, share ideas and thoughts with each other, and maybe where we are in our journey and things like that. And there's also a group that my friend Naya and I are working on. It's like a astral projection lucid dreaming group, and it's going to be on Discord. It's going to be a separate Discord where we all share our resources and our explorations, and what worked for us, what didn't work for us. And I am going to link it to the channel every so often, but it'll be an open invite. Anyone can come in, and we're going to try and just kind of have a group discussion every once in a while where we talk about what our adventures and where we were able to go and what we were able to do, what we saw. Do we gain any knowledge? Do we tap into anything specifically that might be of value to share with others? So yeah, keep an eye out for that. That probably will be announced sometime next week. And part 4 of the Journey of Souls helps expose the Matrix Reincarnation Soul Trap will likely be either tomorrow, Friday, May 28th, or 29th on Saturday. Not sure what time, but a video link should appear sometime tomorrow, regardless of what day I do it. Probably have it up in the early afternoon, late morning. And you can always hit a set reminder on that. If you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe and hit the bell for all notifications if you want to be reminded of this particular series and any videos going forward. Sometimes with the occasional notification buttons, it barely reaches anybody, but it's up to you, whatever you personally want. And again, I'm on Odyssey. Check out Odyssey. I think it's a great new platform, and part of this series will be exclusively aired over there, just for a few, just to kind of test out the streaming capabilities. And of course I'll mirror it over here at some point as well, and every video that I do here automatically goes over to Odyssey. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Much love and blessings to you all. It's been a lot of fun. Have a great rest of your night and on into your weekend, and I will see you either tomorrow or Saturday.